how the program is ran. I need a minute to get this party started. So I'm just going to silently log into TikTok before we, better yet, silently log into YouTube. So give me a minute, if you will, to get my other live streams going. Because I actually just came across something else new today, and I'm going to add that to the conversation. But of course, we're going to talk about Pete Hegseth, and I want to talk to you folks about what I refer to as due process hypocrisy. And when I say due process hypocrisy, I mean the hypocrisy in the way we view whether folks should have due process. And that's going to be starting with the notion that anybody entering this country illegally does not deserve to have due process. If you come to America and you're not here legally, enter the country illegally, or you come to America as a legal visitor and you commit a crime while you're here, there's many folks that believe you should not have due process. You're not a citizen, therefore you should not be entitled to constitutional rights and things of that nature. So we're going to talk about that. I want to make sure I'm entering all this right. Hopefully I am. So I'm trying to get my, okay, that's good. That's good. Real quick, I'm going to put this hashtag in here and we should be able to start the show momentarily. Now, we talked about due process a little bit yesterday, but I want to talk to you about it from a standpoint of whether there is hypocrisy in the way it's doled, in the way it is dealt out, and why is that so? If there is hypocrisy, why would we be doing it from a hypocritical standpoint? So I'm gonna go ahead and get my live streams going here. I think we got pretty much ready to go. Okay, look at in the comments. I am not asking, I am telling. What does that say? Bow down to Mother Russia. Okay, Mother Russia is not doing. If you got to, how can you? Let me before I bring everybody on. How can you suggest that someone should bow down to Mother Russia while you're needing to bring in North Korean troops because the Ukrainians have shot all your people up? Bow down to Russia. Russia can't even defend itself against the Ukrainians with a little bit of American assistance. So bow down. Good luck with that. All right, let me get the program going. We'll go ahead. But it was funny. It was funny. All right, starting the program in 3, 2, 1. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. We'll go through the monologue. Right off the bat, I talked about hypocrisy in due process. What we're referring to is this. Many believe that if you come into this country illegally, whereas you have no legal right to be here, once you are captured and placed up for deportation, you have no right to demand legal process. That's for American citizens, and if you wanted due process, you wanted rights, you should have came in this country legally, or you should have thought about that before you entered the country illegally. So what I want to ask you folks is this. Is there hypocrisy in the way we're viewing this? The reason why I'm saying that is for decades, if not for generations, let me switch over to make sure I'm switching over to Wi-Fi for all these, but for generations, Americans that were running from the law, and when I say running from the law, I mean Americans born and raised in America. These are not foreigners. Red-blooded Americans that got themselves in on the wrong side of the law and are now fugitives trying to flee the law. We all remember the America's Most Wanted series with John Walsh that was really popular throughout the 90s on Fox. Used to come on after Cops, the television show. They featured lots of Americans that were wanted for various felonies that fled into either Canada or Mexico. So if you're wanted for a major crime in the United States as a U.S. citizen, and you're trying to flee the U.S. Marshals or the federal government or whatever law enforcement entity that's chasing your ass, and you go into Mexico or Canada running from the law, you are now an illegal immigrant in Mexico or Canada. When I say due process hypocrisy, I don't recall any Americans suggesting that if you fled the United States and you entered Canada or Mexico illegally, the Canadian government or the Mexican government should have the right to do whatever they want with you, and you are not entitled to any court date or any say so at all. Let's say the Mexican government was friends with the Cubanos. Let's say they wanted to send you to a violent prison in Cuba. Maybe they were friends with the Russians. Wanted to send you to a very violent penal institution in Russia. You think Americans would be okay with that? If an American was fleeing the law and went into Mexico, and the federales in Mexico grabbed that person and was going to send them to a violent penal institution in Russia, and the American got no due process, none whatsoever. Let's say some college kids, some fraternity kids on spring break decided to leave San Diego and go into Tijuana to score some drugs, entered illegally, or even entered legally but purchased illegal narcotics while in Tijuana. And all of a sudden, the Mexican government wanted to not only not give them due process, but just going to tell the American people we caught them, they had drugs on them. They're now on their way to a violent prison in another country they've never been in. And they don't get a court date or anything to prove they're innocent. So there's no need of taking up a GoFundMe page to get them lawyers. They don't get a chance to prove. You think America will be okay with that? I'm running this by you because this is exactly what we're suggesting happens to immigrants that enter this country. It should be okay for us to do whatever we want with the immigrant, and they should have no say so at all the way down to the notion if they got the wrong tattoos on them. Would we be okay doing with some country doing to our inhabitants? Because I do believe we may be dealing with, as I rightfully titled the piece, due process hypocrisy. It's okay to do it to them, but don't do it to us. Now, I've done a live earlier and I did bring up I cannot think of the kid's name, but there was a guy, for you folks from the 1990s, I should have his name brought up, but he went to Singapore and I believe he keyed some cars, or he committed a crime in Singapore. He was due to be caned numerous times. He ultimately did get caned. Denkow, appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for that support, Denkow, this evening. He went to Singapore, committed some crimes, and he did get ultimately caned for his crime. But America was fighting against it. America was flogged, caned, whatever you want to call it, Arlita, but he was getting his ass kicked. Basically getting flogged or getting caned is an updated version of getting your ass kicked. You know, as a parent, a lot of us got whoopings and spankings. Well, getting it done by the government is even worse. So that's what it was. It was a government ass kicking. But America fought hard to try to prevent this from happening. There was no, he doesn't deserve due process. There was no, he should have thought about that before entering another country and breaking their laws. America wanted their citizen back without the punishment being dealt. So why is it that we believe that folks who come here should not be treated the same? Due process hypocrisy. And he's not the only one. The guy getting caned is not the only one. We also brought up there was a Mexican, or better yet a Marine, that carried ammunition into Mexico. I did try to have his name queued up here. I can't remember what his name was, but he actually, Tom Moresi, I think his name was, he carried a firearm and some ammunition into Mexico. Now, Mexico has signs everywhere talking about the perils of bringing ammunition into their country. It's illegal to do so. And he claimed he didn't know the firearm or the ammunition was in his bag. He entered the country of Mexico, essentially committing a major crime upon entry. Once again, many on the right, because it was all over Fox News, stepped up and was defending this guy, even though he went to another country and committed a crime. Exactly what we're saying, that if you come to America and commit a crime, you kind of deserve whatever's coming your way. Due process hypocrisy. Trump also helped bring an immigrant back from North Korea that Kim Jong-un was holding, who committed trespassing violations while in North Korea. And the right was trying to bring him back. Once again, no claims of, well, you should pay, you did the crime, you got to pay the time. Now, I mentioned on my earlier live stream, I'm not going to bring up Brittany Griner to any significance. She's the African American WNBA player that got held in Russia for a small amount of cannabis. Because I got a lot of folks on my program, my beloved MAGA, that would love to have seen Brittany Griner get executed in prison. And we talked about, we covered live streams when Biden had her brought home. For the most part, the right did not want Brittany Griner to come back. She has a lot of things probably going against her, such as being a member of the LGBTQ community. And let's face it, she's African American. And I had folks tell me that Brittany Griner should have got a life sentence. So I'm not going to bring Brittany Griner up as much, but once again, Brittany Griner also did go to Russia and violate their laws. And they wanted to give her like a 15-year prison sentence for it. Way worse than the crime. Way worse. And at least the left side of America, the minorities in America, wanted her brought back. Felt that the punishment was way stiffer than a crime. But we seem to have no problem with it happening to some of these immigrants, where you're sending folks to a violent prison in El Salvador, in some cases, just because they had a tattoo. Punishment does not fit the crime. So we're talking about due process hypocrisy. Continuing on before I start taking callers, Trump just signed something. I wasn't going to talk about this, but it happened today, I believe. And this is Trump with another executive order. In fact, has he done anything through Congress? Has Trump done anything has this whole administration been via executive order? Has Congress worked with him on any damn thing? Well, he signed an order today, election integrity. They're now going to be requiring proof of citizenship to vote. Remember, you got all these illegal immigrants voting. You got dead people voting. You got felons voting. This is what the right was claiming. Proof of citizenship to vote. Now, first question I'm going to ask is, do you favor this? Because make no mistake about it, it is another hurdle to vote. My point being, legit or illegit, the harder you make it to vote, the more hurdles you put up before somebody can cast a vote, the less people are going to turn out to vote. Now, I'm trying to figure out, let's say for myself personally, what's required to prove I have citizenship in America? Do I have to bring my passport? What if you don't have a passport? How do you prove you're a U.S. citizen? You can get a social security card without being a U.S. citizen. You can get a driver's license or a state ID without being a U.S. citizen. Under Trump, ending birthright citizenship, you can get a birth certificate without being a citizen. So how do you prove U.S. citizenship? Because people are born in this country that Trump is, as we know, Trump does not want to recognize birthright citizenship. So if you're born in America, you're going to have a birth certificate because you were born at a certain hospital, but you still might not be a citizen. You get how this can be a challenge? What if Barack Obama came down there with his birth certificate during the Trump administration? They would say you're from Kenya. Can you see where this could lead to legitimate voters not being able to vote? Because like I said, the more hurdles you add, the harder it becomes to vote. Now you got to prove you're a citizen at polling places. Here's the simple solution to this, but the Trump administration would never do this because, in my humble opinion, they want the hurdle to be present. You could easily create a slot on a person's driver's license where you put a C if they're a citizen, an R if they're a resident, and I if they're an immigrant. Just one category. The DMV knows already if you're a citizen or not. They can start that now. You got 3 years before another national election. You got almost 2 years before another midterm. They can start that now. If you want to be, show your citizenship during polling, come on down to the DMV now. Bring in your driver's license, your birth certificate. I guess they could say whatever they're using for citizenship. I guess right now, birth certificate might be the closest thing. And we'll go ahead and hand you a new driver's license that has a citizenship category on it. Just like you may have race or color where it says black, white, or whatever. You can have one category that says status. C for citizenship, I for immigrant, R for resident, whatever. Be that simple. So when you go to vote, you hand them your driver's license and the letter C is already on there. They're not going to make it that easy, though. I can guarantee you that. They're not going to make it that easy. Same way I stated that voter ID could be the same shit. They want everybody to have an ID to vote. Give them the fucking ID. How much does it cost to print out, to put ink on a piece of plastic? Because that's all it is. Your face, some data about you is put on a piece of laminated plastic or something like that. You could give everybody in America one of those for free. Come on down to the DMV. We'll give you a voter ID. At best, they're probably paying a nickel to a dime per ID to hand out for free because it's just a piece of plastic. And you're making them in incredible amounts of bulk. Once again, though, as I stated, they want the hurdles to be there. They don't want to make it easier to vote. They want to make it harder. So they're not going to do these things for you. They're going to make you do all that proving. When it would be that simple. Just if you want people to have voter ID, give them the damn ID. That's simple. Give it to them. When they go down to renew their driver's license or renew their state ID, hand them a voter ID. Or you could put it right on their driver's license. Once again, as I said, in addition to the letter, you could also put on their voting status, if they have a right to vote or not. Simple as that. They could really make this easy and streamlined. They don't want to do that. They want to make it harder for you to vote. So looking in the comments, I'll go straight to the box because I got more content, but I want to play a couple videos for you, but I don't want to talk all damn day on this monologue. Appreciate the subscription there, user. Thank you very much. User 448. Nice try. Illegals shouldn't be granted a driver's license or government ID. Maxwell Smart says illegal immigrants should not be granted a driver's license or government ID. They have a passport from their country. You know their status. Nice try. I didn't say illegals should be granted a driver's license or a government ID. You didn't hear me say that. I said on your driver's license, put I, immigrant, R for resident, or C for citizen. You can be a legal immigrant. Now, I know a lot of folks on the right are getting to the point where they don't want anybody to immigrate to the damn country. So anybody that's here under immigration is considered like an illegal, like the Haitian migrants and all of them folks. For a lot of folks on the right, everybody is an illegal immigrant. You kind of are starting to slowly but surely remove the category of legal immigrant because you're going at the people who have green cards and all that shit. Just like in whole anti-immigrant sentiment, legal or illegal. But to save face while running for an election, you got to say you're only going after illegals. But I didn't say nothing about going after, I didn't say nothing about illegal immigrants being granted IDs and things like that. So, but I understand your point. A lot of folks agree with you, Maxwell Smart. Going to the box, we'll start it right out with Gangsta Grandma. Good evening, Gangsta. Welcome to the program.
Is your ass cold or what? Y'all wrapped up? What the hell?
I was about to go and take my ass to bed until I heard about this. You need to prove you a citizen to vote. Is this something that you favor?
Hell no. We all. Let me tell you something. This is what the white tea man wants. I tell you what I tell you this morning. They're coming for everybody. They don't want us to vote. They want to keep the orange orangutan in office. Hell yeah. They want to keep. They want to keep the orange orangutan in office. You know why? Because they think that the white man is going bye bye. That's why they're doing all this shit. They want to kick all the black and brown people out. Because you know why? The white tea women are obsessed with the dang-a-lang.
What?
And they're having babies.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. First of all, why are you saying? You said something in regards to the white tea man is going bye bye. What the hell does that mean?
Bye bye. They thinking, okay, because the United States is getting bigger, the black and brown people's coming up, and they thinking that because the white tea women are out there having all these mixed babies that they're not gonna have no white more babies because they don't like the dang a lang a lang. You feel what I'm saying? It's true.
You're telling me that white women are having black babies because they don't like or mixed babies because they don't like the white man's dingling. Is that what I just heard you say?
Well, the white tea women are obsessed with the black dangling. They think it's so big, but I got something to tell they asses. That's not true. They don't have the BBC like that.
What you're saying that's not true, great gangster grandma. White women are not obsessed by the black man's dingling.
Oh, yes, they is. They got a yes, they is. What you gonna tell me, Willis? Because you know what? Because I be seeing these white women. Oh, I love me some black men. Oh my God, get the fuck out of here! But you'll call a po on them. Have you ever seen the movie Get Out?
Yeah, yes, I've seen Get Out. But the notion that look, there's some women that date interracial, but you're making it sound like the majority of white women have this infatuation with the black man's package.
They want the chocolate dang-a-lang, and guess what? The BBC ain't that for them. Because they be, I better shut up. I want to get banded. I want to get bananas. But yes, that's the truth. They're thinking because their little women are coming, hop, skipping, and jumping away, crossing that fence and drinking some juice. You feel what I'm saying? And then they're having all these damn mixed babies. And I ain't hating as long as they know how to comb their hair. You feel what I'm saying? You feel me? Because half these little motherfuckers can't even comb their hair. So let's get it right.
Oh my God! No way! I don't even forget what I was about to.
Have you ever seen a white tea woman, and then they have a biracial baby, and then you go in the store, and they got the nappy all over the place, the curly. I mean, come on! If I ever have my babies out in public looking like that, not no oil up in their head, no nothing. You feel what I'm saying?
Well, listen, babies do not come with instruction manuals. It takes time to figure things out.
Oh, I'm gonna call you girl. My bad. But Fluffy, come on now.
I'm not. Why am I fluffing? What am I doing?
Yeah, let me tell you something. I'm telling you, the white tea man is upset because they're jumping the fence, getting that damn juice, and having these damn mixed babies. More power to you, girl.
Come on, wait, gangster. Let me.
They're going bye-bye.
You and I've had many conversations. Let me just. I have to ask you this because I get viewers that say this every time you communicate. Folks believe that you are racist towards white people. How do you respond to that?
Well, let me break this shit down to you. I'm not racist. I don't like the 99.9% of they mayonnaise looking asses because they don't like my ass. Okay?
So you're not. Wait a minute. You said you're not racist. You just don't like 99.9% of them. You do realize that qualifies as being a racist towards whites, right?
Being racist. I'm not saying I didn't call him a C word. I didn't call him nothing. I didn't even do nothing like that. I just said, because you know what? People don't speak their fucking truth. That's what it is. They are racist towards us and everything. You feel what I'm saying? They are racist towards us. Why should I give them respect? Now, we do have some white tea people that are on our side, and they are good people. I'm not saying all of they asses. I'm just saying that.
Let me ask you because the comments are going apeshit with you talking. Hold on, and listen. That's fine. People got questions. You can have answers. Folks want to know because your profile picture. They're asking, well, what are you?
I'm Afro-Latina. Okay. I'm Dominican.
All right.
What the fuck?
They wanted to know.
You can stroll the fuck down. See, my mama black and my daddy black, and what? Black
But
comes in every shade, baby. That's why they big mad.
but you're
Just the reason why the white man's big mad. See, we can go out in the sun and we can get tan. They motherfuckers go out in the sun and they burn.
But your
See, they get mad.
but grandma, your commentary, make no mistake about it, your commentary is leading folks to believe you're intolerant to whites. I mean, if an African American, or better yet, if a white person was speaking in regards to an African American or person of color using the same language you are, wouldn't you see that person as racist? If they were saying the same stuff about blacks as you're saying about whites, how would you view it?
Black people ain't like what the white people's doing. What the fuck are you talking about? They're not the KKK. They have no power. Black people don't got the power like that. The only ones are thinking they're trying to be white are black maggots.
Why do you keep calling them maggots?
Because they're maggots. They're like flies that never go away. They just keep on growing.
Well,
They won't go away.
you mean never go away like they keep winning elections?
No, they're not. Okay, let me break this shit down. They didn't win like you think they did. Okay?
Who won in November? Who won the election in November?
Oh, God, the orange orangutan. Oh, because of lies. Because of fucking lies.
Lies how? How did he? What did he? He didn't lie. He won the election.
Lie? Oh, he didn't lie? Oh, we're gonna stop the war. Did he do it? No.
Okay.
Oh, we're gonna stop the taxes on Social Security. No, he's gonna take Social Security. FYI, he said. And this is another thing. We're gonna do no tips on
no tax on tips. No taxes on tips and overtime.
He hasn't done that.
Okay, so it's only been 2 months. Got to get a man some time.
Oh, you can't. Hey, the bill's already out. The tax bill is out. The tax bill is out. And not one thing is on it about no tax on tips. And that goes every 8 years.
So you're saying you feel confident that the whole no tax on tips is going to be a lie?
It's going to be, everything he says is a fucking lie. You know what they did? Let me tell you something. This is what they did. They believed the Triple K, and they thinking, oh, he's going to give us some money. He's going to give us some money. We're going to be all that. We're going to be all that. Get the fuck out of here. Well, you know how stupid these motherfuckers are? And see, I'm not racist. I just call them like this. They're ignorant. They don't know shit. And this is why our education system is failing. They asses.
I don't know if you can say all the things you're saying and not be viewed as racist, gangster grandma.
How am I racist? How am I racist? Did I call him a C word? A saltine? Did I call him that?
You just
the only thing I said is they go out in the sun and they fucking burn. That's not being racist. That's being the damn truth.
I heard
Tell me they don't go out in the fucking sun and get burnt. My ass could go out in the sun and I get tan.
I heard you mention mayonnaise. I heard you.
Mayonnaise. I can't say white tea all the fucking time. What the fuck? Or do you want me to call him pale?
How about Caucasian?
Ew, that's too nice for that. I'm fucking with you. I'm fucking with you.
Oh my God.
No, I'm just doing it for the racist ones. Now, the cool ones, the ones that are marching with us and shit, I don't have nothing against their asses. I'll give them.
But how would they know the way you're talking? How would any white person know that you're okay with them the way you're talking right now?
Because they know me. Well, except for the Triple K, they don't like me, and I don't give a fuck.
Well, you do realize the Triple K is essentially, it's
maggots. They're the maggots. They is. They walk like a duck. They talk like a duck. They're a maggot.
You're trying to tell me that Trump supporters are also Triple K in some cases?
Yep, they sure is.
Got evidence? Proof?
Well, do you see what they say online? But see, let me tell you something. They're all for they're standing with Donald Trump, bringing segregation back and bringing all these things back. Yes, they're all for it. And you know what? The only ones that I feel the ones that are saying that I regret the vote and stuff, and they're flipping, I give them credit. I give them credit because they're not standing with him.
No,
see, if they do not stand with him, they're not the racist ones. They're coming out. And they're saying, I don't stand with this man. While
you're criticizing Trump supporters, now you mentioned you're part African American, part Dominican. You do realize Trump did very well with the Hispanic community, right?
You want me to go there too? Because I tell my own damn people. They sell out. I tell them, how does it feel to get closest to whiteness when they don't even like your ass?
But you don't think the Hispanics are Triple K members, so that kind of strikes down your comment
Yeah,
that
they
MAGA
could
are
be.
Triple
Hey,
K.
they could be. They could be. You know what I mean? They're maggots. Then and guess what? Guess what? FAFO, because they coming for their ass.
I think you
And they
just
stop deporting them asses.
I got viewers that suggest you are like the definition of Trump derangement syndrome.
Well, honey, I don't have time. I'm just tired of his sorry ass. Just looking at him makes me sick. Because he's turning this damn country into fucking a shithole.
Give me some examples of how Trump is turning the country into a shithole. What has he done in only 2 months to turn this country into a shithole? Because many folks believe that now America's more respected under Trump.
Do you really believe that? Do you fucking believe that?
I'm telling
we
you.
are the laughing stock. Look what just happened the other day with the war plans. Who the fuck does that? And then they always say, the black people in DEI, the black people in DEI. No. Let's get it. Let's get it to your definition of DEI is a whole goddamn cabinet.
Who
does that? Who texts the plans like that? Who texts the plans?
Is it possible that somebody could make a mistake occasionally in life?
Oh my God. That kind of mistake? That kind of mistake?
What do you want to do? Hang them at the stake? I mean, listen. Yes.
Yep. Yo, hey, don't hang our black asses at the stake. They want to call the police on us? Fuck yeah, they will. If that was Obama or Biden, oh my God, it would be, oh my God, give me peace. You know what that motherfucker Reagan Tank said today? Did you know what that motherfucker said today?
What?
He's a good man.
Well,
what the fuck? And then try to blame it on Biden. What the fuck is that?
Well, he's trying to show his people support.
Trying to show a motherfucking drug support? You know that motherfucker was probably tipsy, probably had him some, I don't know what the fucking white people be drinking. Oh, Coors beer.
You don't like white people. Be honest with it.
I can't tell you.
I gotta move it on, but you need to be honest with yourself. You have a thing against Caucasians. It sounds.
No, I haven't. No. For what you ain't gonna call me out when you're beefy and you're riding so hard for the maggots? Don't you ever come at me like that? Because let me tell you, I'm not the one like that. I'm not. I like the good ones. I don't like the maggots, and that's who I'm thinking. That's who I'm coming for. The good ones, I'm more power to you. It's the maggots. That's why the maggots get mad at me because they know. They know I'm telling the truth. They know it.
All right. I don't know, Gangsta Grandma. I know if a white person was talking about the good ones, referring to people of color, I think you'd have an adverse opinion about that. So I don't know. I think
talking about the black maggots, all they fucking what, but don't come from my brothers and sisters. No. Right. No, we are the minority, not them. The white team mad is in their feelings right now. They want to turn us white again, but there ain't gonna be no white over this way. They
want to turn us white again.
The country white. But you know what thing is though? So let me tell the white maggots this: we are not our ancestors. So FAFO fucking with us now.
All right, gangster.
We are not our ancestors. You feel what I'm saying?
I understand. I appreciate you coming through. Thank you as always.
You have a good one.
You too. Wow. As always, Gangsta Grandma never disappoints. I've seen a lot of folks in the comments. She drives my comment section crazy. A lot of folks, some support her, some do not like her. That's how free speech works. So folks understand the program is going to be ran this way throughout. It always has been ran this way. We still remain MAGA friendly to the end. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. You can be far left, far right. We have, what is the saying on this program? We go left of Bernie Sanders, so I'm having dinner with Q. You can be critical of anyone up to it, including the host. So that's how it goes. You'll probably hear folks on the right that may speak in similar fashion. Nevertheless, we'll go back to the box. Continuing on with Dencal, good evening, welcome to the program. FDT, MAGA ain't shit, says make me king. Wow. That's MAGA Reacts. MAGA Reacts, good evening.
Hey, what's going on?
Not much at all. Now you heard my last caller. You happen to just be a Caucasian man coming up. Did you have any issues with
I'm
anything my
not.
last caller had to say?
Wait, I'm not white. I'm Egyptian. Remember?
Oh yes, that's right.
I'm a tan. I mean, I could pass as white. I could pass as Latin. I mean, most people come up to me talking Spanish,
Do you
and
get
I
it
don't burn in
now?
the sun, like she said.
Now, now you're an Egyptian, but you're living. You have your Egyptian ancestry. I'm assuming you were born in America, or were you not?
No, I'm born in Egypt. Came here when I was 8. Both parents are
Okay, you
Egyptian.
okay? So you are a actual Egyptian citizen.
No, I'm an American citizen. I got a derived citizenship when my parents got citizenship. Like, 10 years after 10 years being, not even 10 years of being here. Like 5 or 6 years of being here.
And you grew up MAGA. Your name is MAGA Reacts with an Egyptian ancestry.
Nobody
Explain
grew up
that.
MAGA. MAGA's only been around for like 10 years at the most. MAGA's only
Yeah,
been around not even 10 years, 8 years or less.
yeah, but
I mean,
somebody
it all started with Trump in
didn't
2016.
didn't Cal in the comments said, "Get him out of here. You're an anchor baby." How you do follow the definition of an anchor baby?
No, I'm not an anchor baby. I was born in Egypt. No, not one point. Even my youngest brother was 1 year old when he came here. Not one of us was an anchor baby. Anchor baby is when you're born here.
How are you born in Egypt and not an Egyptian citizen?
I might have dual citizenship.
How do you not know
I
that?
don't know.
How do you not know that?
It has never come up. I've never needed a Egyptian passport or my Egyptian citizenship for anything. I might be a dual citizen. I don't know. No one ever asked me before.
Well, you might be the perfect guy to talk to considering the topic of this program. We were talking about Trump just signed a law today that requires if you be a citizen before you can vote. What the hell is on your documents? Not to sound like a Capital One commercial, but what's in your wallet? When you go to vote, what the hell are you going to produce to prove you're a citizen?
I mean, I just show my Florida ID.
That ain't going to work.
As far as
that ain't going to be enough.
Yeah, no. I mean, I gotta see the details of the law, but yeah, I gotta see because I don't even think I have citizenship paperwork because I got it through my parents, so it's their paperwork. And because I had this problem with the Obamacare, I was applying for Obamacare, and at first they kept asking for my passport. I gave them my passport, and then like a couple of months later, they're like, "Oh, we need your citizenship paperwork." And,
you actually,
so it's still, I gotta figure this out myself, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you better figure that shit out because you may qualify to be deported if you get in trouble. I mean, you actually may be deportable.
No, I think my passport will keep me from getting deported.
You know how many of them thought their passport would keep them from getting deported too? Their green cards would keep them from getting deported. Their residency, their mom and dad would keep them from getting deported. They thought the same shit.
I'm definitely a citizen, so we'll see. I have a U.S. passport. I wouldn't have gotten that shit with a green card.
I don't know. I'm just going to say.
I mean, the passport should be enough. I don't see why the passport's not enough.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I don't know enough to counter you, but I'm just simply saying, under the Trump administration, you need to be absolutely certain that every T is crossed and every I is dotted because they're literally looking for reasons to send people back. And being from Egypt, you definitely will be on the chopping block.
I might be. Yeah. Actually, what bothers me more is how little the country knows of who's actually they don't have a list of citizens. Like, how do they not know who's a citizen, who's not a citizen? Like, I understand the state does the election, and it's on the state to verify citizenship if they pass this law, but how does the federal government not know who is the citizen? Obamacare is all federal.
Like I said during the monologue, they know who is a citizen in this country and who is not. What I believe they're doing is simply adding another hurdle to voting because fact is, during low voter turnout is generally good for Republicans and high voter turnout is good for Democrats. So anytime you hear somebody trying to make it easier for people to vote, which could lead to fraud, but anytime you see people making it easier for people to vote, it's generally Democrats. Anytime you see people trying to make it harder to vote, which reduces fraud, but it can ultimately cause people who legitimately could vote to have their votes disqualified because of new hurdles. That's usually Republicans. Republicans make it harder to vote, Democrats make it easy.
Yeah, but I don't think that rule applies anymore. I think based on the number of this last election, it was like the opposite. The more people voted, the more Trump.
You know how many people? Marguerite, you know how many people that did not vote in this election? Like 30% of voters didn't show up. This was a very low voter turnout election.
No, it wasn't. This was a high turnout. What it was is the 2020 election was a freak election. Because this is like still above average, but the average is way lower than like 2020 was a freak election. Like that was just because of COVID, because of all kinds of factors. Plus, it was all mail-in. Plus, what's it called? The Democrats did a lot of voter harvesting and just registering people because they could just get them to do it by mail-in versus doing it in person is a lot harder. And they definitely have the better ground game, so that's why they did so well.
Let me ask that question in regards to all this Democratic cheating. Now that Trump is in control of all three branches of government and the Supreme Court, and he won all 7 swing states that he complained that fraud existed, why is he doing such a piss poor job proving that what he said about fraud happened in 2020? He got all the assets you could ever dream of. Where's the proof?
You still don't have enough access, and if he tries, he'll get crucified like when he tried last time.
Crucified by who?
To get into by both sides, because both sides don't want to prove that someone's cheating. They'd rather let the cheating continue than prove it, and then they have to stop it.
That makes sense. So you're telling me
That's the vibe I was getting from them.
You're telling me that if the Democrats cheated in a Republican state, the Republican governor would not want that to be known?
I think both sides cheat. And it only makes a difference when the election is fucking very close, which 2020 was very close. And the other close election was 2000.
Very close. Trump said he won by a landslide.
I know, but in reality, it was a very close election where, 12,000 more votes in Georgia would have got him Georgia. 10,000 in Arizona would have got him Arizona. 20,000.
So in other words, when Trump said he won by a landslide, he was lying about the election too.
He was exaggerating.
What's the difference?
I don't want to say he won because I don't know for sure he won.
He is saying he won. He himself. The
smallest amount of fraud would have changed the winner.
What is the difference between an exaggeration and a lie?
Exaggeration saying you have you have 100 million when you only have like 70 or 50. You still have millions of dollars in the bank, but you don't have 100. You're exaggerating, but you still have something. When you exaggerate, you're just trying to embellish the truth to put a point across. When you're lying, is like when you're absolutely broke, you got $0 in the bank, and you're saying you're a millionaire. That's lying.
Really? So if I got $20 in my pocket and I tell people I got 100, that's not a lie. It's just exaggerating.
I mean, that's far enough from the truth to be that's borderline a lie.
Well, you making this up as you go along.
If you had like 70 and you said 100 or even like 150, I would give you that. But 20 is kind of really close to broke.
I don't care if you said you. Hold on.
It all depends. I don't know why you're getting muddy things up with these little things. Just keep it clean.
I think you're making this shit up as you go along. Here's the point I'm trying to make. If you tell someone something, you
don't need me to define to you what exaggeration is versus.
I wanted you to give me how exaggerated about something and lying about something is different. If you tell me something, I don't care if it's you got $20 in your pocket when you actually got 19, or you tell me you tell some chick you're working with a 12-inch dong when you got 6 inches. If you know what you're saying is not true, it's a lie. You can exaggerate. If you want to say exaggerating, then that's a synonym. But lying and exaggerating, your answer should have been they're synonyms of each other. They're the same damn thing. You know what you're saying is not true.
It depends on the purpose of what you're trying to say. Like if you're trying to say that you have plenty of money and you could afford buying dinner, then it's exaggerating because either way you have enough for dinner. But if you're saying, you have $100 and you only have $20 and that's not enough to cover dinner, and then the check comes out and you can't pay your part of dinner or can't pay for dinner, then that would be a lie. You know, it all depends on the reason you're doing it, and if in the end you're trying to deceive or you're just trying to make yourself seem bigger than you are. You know, it's like say like the last crazy grandma said for your dingling. If your dingling is 6 or 7 inch, if it's 7 inch and you say it's like 8.5, then that's an exaggeration. But if you say 8.5 and it's really 2, that's a goddamn lie.
Oh my God! Listen, if you say something, I don't care if you say it's 7. If you say it's 7 and it's only 6 3/4, if you know it's only 6 3/4, you're telling a lie. If you know the information you're giving is false, it's a lie. It's not exaggerated.
But listen, if she doesn't have to bring out the measurement, I mean, if she's satisfied, she's satisfied. You know. So if you satisfy her, it doesn't matter if you're 7 3/4 or 8. But if you have 2 and you can't satisfy her, then you straight up lied.
Okay. Well, he cannot satisfy the nation by claiming he won by a landslide. That didn't happen, and it sounds like you're even admitting that he didn't win by a landslide.
I don't know. I just know it's so close that the smallest amount of fraud.
It's not close. If you win by a landslide, it's not so close.
I mean, it's not close to being a landslide, but it's close to him being the winner. Like the smallest, like I said, only 10,000 votes out of millions. You know, it's only like 0.0001% that would change the results of a lot of these states.
Why don't we have proof of any of this shit other than him telling us?
Because your vote's secret. Your vote is secret, and it's
no. That ain't what I'm talking about. That ain't what I'm talking about. If you're going to say Dominion voting machine switched votes to Biden, if you're going to say that Jewish space lasers did their thing, you're going to say that dead people voted. Where is the actual proof? You know that Trump has this whole thing. Whether it's 150-year-old recipients getting Social Security checks, or whether it's hundreds of gangbangers being sent to El Salvador, or finding billions in waste, fraud, and abuse, why is it always you just got to trust it? When do we get receipts for any of this stuff?
Well, you get receipts when someone actually does an investigation, which, you know, they didn't do that. They spent 2 weeks on it, and then Bill Barr decided to quit. That's pretty much what he did. The election was in November. We got the winner.
Bill Barr did not just quit. Attorney General Barr stated that what Trump was claiming was bullshit. He didn't just quit. In fact, I think I got his book over here some damn where.
But he only spent like 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks tops. Even a month is not enough time to investigate this shit.
How you gonna this is the book he got, one damn thing after another, because he was talking about what went on. But how are you gonna tell me that his 2 weeks investigating the election is not long enough, but Trump claimed all this fraud happened and he didn't do any investigation at all? If it takes 2 weeks to prove that it didn't happen, then where's Trump in his short period of time getting the right to say it did happen?
The only power he has to investigate is through Bill Barr. So without Bill Barr doing his job, he kind of got screwed. And then when he tried to replace him, everybody he tried to replace him with threatened to quit too.
Why is you're saying 2 weeks during an investigation for 2 weeks is not long enough? If Trump and his associates are saying the Democrats stole the election and this is how, it shouldn't take very long to do the investigation because you go in. If you're going to tell me dead people voted, I shouldn't have to go and find that. You should be able to show me where you got it from.
Again, we don't know. I don't know how. I'm not claiming I know how. I believe, like, when it comes to lying, when they were trying to guess why the election was stolen, I'll give you that. Like, they didn't know for sure, but that was a lot more like lying than anything. Okay. Especially if anyone says this today. We're looking at things at hindsight. So from today, we know a lot of these things are a lie. But back then, we didn't know, and they didn't spend enough time investigating.
So what you're saying is now that we can Monday morning quarterback, you can look back and you do acknowledge that a lot of the things the Republicans were saying in regards to cheating were lies.
Yeah, no, I'll give you. I've been saying that. Even when they said it, I didn't like the voting machine changing things. I didn't like that at all. No, if they cheated, it had definitely to do with the voter harvesting, and it had to do with their groundwork. I think they went to some old grandma and had her
Why do you
register.
think?
And
Why do you believe the Republicans were making up lies? Now that you've admitted that some of this stuff was lies, why do you think they did that?
it's like, I give this example all the time. It's like the girlfriend that knows her boyfriend's cheating. She doesn't have proof of it, but she knows he's cheating. She just doesn't know how he's cheating, and she doesn't have the resources, and she's not smart enough to catch him. And like even today, like it's especially when it's that close. Like I know there's fraud there. We all know there's fraud there because there's always fraud in any election. But is there enough to override it? And with the election that close, it's like really possible. Like
so, what you're saying is the Republicans
changed the winner.
So what you're saying is the Republicans knew the Democrats were cheating somehow, some way, but they didn't know exactly how. So to draw attention to it, they decided to make up lies about the Democrats in false ways that they were cheating.
They're guessing. They like anything else. They guessed how. Like,
they didn't say
like
they were.
Girlfriend that
they didn't say they were guessing. They said it was being done.
I mean, they were no. I don't think they. Again, I don't want to get into semantics.
You've already did it already. You've already gotten into it. You're basically admitting that they lied on it. So even if the Democrats did,
well, they didn't know at the time. Like if they say it today, they're definitely lying. But at the time, we didn't know shit.
Then why are you saying? If you don't know it even at the time, why the hell are you saying it?
What do you mean? Wait, someone had to look into it, and we're just giving them. It's like when someone. It's like when that guy, the Mario guy, killed the CEO, and we're all guessing who did it. Or when Trump got shot, and we were guessing who shot him, and we thought it was a leftist, and we thought this and that. That's what people do. You know,
I don't.
Just
To
guessing,
me,
and you know, they weren't really lying, but they were doing their best guess.
Yeah.
Or like when what's his name died? When what the fuck's his name? When Hackman died with his wife a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
How many times did we guess it wrong before we got the actual evidence?
I understand your point about the guessing, but you can't go out if you're looking for who killed the United Healthcare CEO and you don't know it's Luigi Mangione. You can't just go blame some dude because Trump was blaming people. He's suggesting that dead folks are voting. You see what happened with Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss with, what is his name? Rudolph Giuliani claiming they were passing around USB drives. He didn't say I'm guessing or I think. He started blaming stuff on people that didn't do shit. You can't do that. So when Trump says the election was stolen, how is his credibility of any value at all when we know for a fact he lied about it?
But that's what happens every time.
No, it does not.
Gas until the professionals.
You don't hear
like Bill Barr do their job.
No, you don't have Republican presidents or Democratic presidents blaming all of these folks in different towns and shit cheating. You don't have that. At worst, you had Hillary Clinton talking about Trump was colluding with Russia. I remember that. But
there you go.
But you didn't have Hillary Clinton blaming average Republicans.
But look. They said collusion with Russia, and how much time did they spend on collusion with Russia? They spent 2 years investigating collusion with Russia. They spent 2 weeks on the 2020 election. And there's definitely a lot more evidence of cheating in 2020 than 2016.
I don't think there is
on the Russian collusion.
I don't think there is more evidence of cheating in the 2020 election. Otherwise, Trump would have proven some of that. It's been 5 years almost. Why hasn't he proven any of this stuff?
Because they don't, like I said, one, they're not looking into it, and two, I don't think they can if they wanted to, because it would involve a lot of illegal shit.
Because it
would involve.
I don't understand why you're going to tell me
verifying their votes.
It doesn't. It's not going to. You got Republican governor, Republican Senate, Republican Supreme Court, Republican Congress, Republican president. All of the swing states got Republican governors. Damn near most of them got Republican governors now, or better yet. There would be no problem proving some of this stuff. You're making up excuses for why so many years have went by and they haven't proven any of this stuff. Maybe after 5 years.
Maybe they'll look into it. Maybe they will, and hopefully after 5 years, there's still evidence.
They're not going to do that. If they ain't done it by now, and they ain't going, you don't even hear Trump talking about looking into it.
It's been 2 months. It's been 2 months. There's a lot of time to do a lot of shit.
Right.
He's got at least 22 months to do a lot of shit before midterm.
You got time to go after transgender, which represents damn near 0% of the population, but something as big as a stolen election, you ain't had time for that yet, huh?
I mean, it's like when you're winning, you forget about certain things that don't matter anymore.
Yeah, like being an asshole. I gotta move it on, MAGA. You know what I gotta do.
Damn, there's a lot of stuff I was talking
about.
I got
other folks. You know how we do it. We'll cover it on the next go round.
Try to get me at the end if you got time.
I'll see what I can do.
I have a list of shit that I forgot to talk about.
All right, well, you got too deep in that. MAGA Reacts, everybody. This is going crickets. Looking in the comments real quick before I move on with the program. By the way, tap the screen. I haven't solicited that. Tap the screen if you're on TikTok. Good minute of tapping. Help out your boy. Get me on up to about 30,000. We can make that happen. Tap the screen, and I'll go to the next call. And by the way, if you're on, we're also live on Clappers. So if you want to come up live for some of my beloved MAGA that may be watching on YouTube feed, because we're on YouTube, horizontal, YouTube, vertical, Clapper, and currently TikTok. Looking in the comment, another MAGA React self-drunk session. I believe that one alone there, Yoruba. We got more important things to worry about. That's bullshit. Let me tell you something. You're talking about a stolen election, the notion that Biden may have served an entire term fraudulently, but we got more important things to look at. We got more important things to worry about than that. Well, if we got more important things to worry about than that election, then why the hell is he going around saying it at every damn press conference? And he's even on TV in front of the Prime Minister of Ireland and, the Prime Minister of Germany and shit talking about this damn election. If it's not that important and you got more things to focus on, then shut the fuck up. Or if you're going to keep talking about it, prove your case. So the whole notion that, well, we got more things to work, that's bullshit. Because we've seen a whole lot of things that affect virtually no one getting precedence. He's only been in office 2 months and he's passed, keeping biological males out of sports. I talked about the transgender community. That ain't affecting nobody. Certainly nobody anywhere near as much as the 2020 election would have. I mean, if the Republicans won the 2020 election, that means millions of people were cheated out of their vote. And Biden was an illegitimate president. That should have taken way more precedence over anything related to the transgender community. So don't get the notion that we got bigger things. Bullshit. He's going after all kinds of little lame ass shit that is of little to no importance. It's just some cases sticking it to the libs. Going back to the box, Dencal. I tried to bring him. Is that AJ now? We'll do that next. Dencal, good evening. Welcome to the program. Alicia Bling says, I feel cheated now. Dencal, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Evidence that the 2020 election was stolen. You think we're going to get that from Trump?
Hey, before we start out, what happened to your live earlier?
I had a family event come up. I had to bounce real quick.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't nothing that none of us said.
No, you good. We'd be on the backup page if that happened, but we good. So, evidence the 2020 election was stolen. You heard my last caller. He's suggesting that Trump may provide that. What say you?
Look, every time I listen to MAGA Reacts, I think I burn through brain cells. I mean, he literally... First of all, I want to say, he better watch his ass, because he from one of them shithole countries that Trump used to talk about. And if his papers ain't right, he might need to go back and come in the right fucking way.
It sounds like he ain't been there in a very long time.
Right. He don't know. He talking about he need to figure it out. Oh, we about to be on the same team in a minute, huh?
You about to get traded.
You want to come to the Lakers now, huh?
I was so surprised.
You want to play with Luka and LeBron now? I mean, come on, man.
I was so surprised that he has told me before he's Egyptian, but I had forgot about that.
I know. You forget about it when you listen to what he says, because it doesn't line up.
Right.
With what he is. And since he is white passing, which he has acknowledged, that is the reason why he's leaning that direction.
So a lot of
Hispanics
Hispanics
felt the effects of what it feels like to be visually a brown person.
Yeah. That's a good point. So he may be Egyptian, but he's still potentially enjoying some of the side effects of white privilege is what it sounds like you're saying.
And look, and if I knew his address,
no. No,
hey, anyway,
you're not about to say that. No,
but I'll say,
you gonna send immigration to his crib.
Look, before we get into it, I just want to say one thing, just
All
so we
right.
can clear the air. Let me see. Kamala Harris got 75 million votes.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Trump got 77.3. So when we talk about this landslide and he got this mandate and all of that stuff, it's a lie. It's an illusion.
Yeah.
To make it seem like he got the support of the people to make all of this stuff happen. I mean, Joe Biden beat him by what, 6-7 million votes?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing, and I don't recall anybody.
Mandate, but we didn't look at that as a mandate.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, Joe Biden beat Trump in 2020 by more votes than Trump beat Kamala Harris, and I don't recall the Republicans ever suggesting that Biden had a mandate. He won all the swing states too. In fact, when Biden won Georgia in 2020, nobody was even thinking about that happening.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I just want to get that out there in the atmosphere. Like when we be talking stuff, and when I hear people like MAGA say basically like he has a right to just do all of this stuff. And one thing I want to add on top of that is executive orders are not laws. All of this stuff, and you just said it. Executive orders can be removed.
Yeah.
Day one when the next person gets in. So while we talking about all of this stuff he's accomplishing, when we know the only real accomplishments that presidents get are long-lasting legislation. That's how you are judged as a president. Not because anybody can come in and write 1,000, executive orders.
Right. I'm not even sure, and you're right about that. The next guy, just like Trump came in and he, undid Obama's executive orders, came in, undid Biden's executive orders. And I'm not even, we know a liberal would spend a whole, weekend undoing many of Trump's executive orders, but I'm not even for certain someone like J.D. Vance, if let's say something happened to Trump, God forbid he, was taken out or got sick and had to step down or just passed away or whatever the case may be.
What they say in New York, people die every day, B.
Yes, I've heard that. I've heard that. But what I was getting at is I'm not even for certain that if J.D. Vance had to succeed Trump, that he wouldn't undo some of Trump's executive orders, because I think J.D. Vance is not as far to the right in some aspects. Not saying many, but I don't even think J.D. because we see what his view was on the attack in Yemen. He didn't agree with that. So
yes, that was the most amazing thing ever. We got to see in real time that they said that they didn't even understand. They didn't know for sure whether the president said to do it or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one of the bombshells. People not looking into all of the stuff that was said in that text. We just saying that, it was on signal and it was wrong. But when you look at what they were saying, I mean, they was on there putting down emojis and shit about war, like strong arm, heart emoji.
But the claim has always been, whether it's Biden is a puppet for the Obama's a puppet for the Clintons, Bill Clinton's a puppet for his wife Hillary. What you're pointing out literally makes it look like Trump is a puppet, whereas America's declaring war on Yemen, and the president apparently has nothing to do with it. The president don't even know what's happening. That's what he just
told them make it happen, and so now all of these cabinet members and the vice president is in a group chat talking about, hey man, I don't think we should do it. Hey, Stephen Miller, what in the faux cheesy is he doing on his national security? I know he's a what do they call it? Advisor to the president, but he's supposed to be on immigration. Why is he on a thread talking about bombing another, a Middle Eastern country? Talking about, the way I understand it is he said he wanted it done.
Yeah, I think a lot of these guys are just free floating and just giving titles, but they can move all around. Like Elon Musk, he's on phone calls with China, sitting in on talks with Russia. Like you're the head of Doge. What the hell are you doing in this? So it seems like they got wide latitude to move around. Like Southwest say, you're free to move about the cabin. They're free to move all over the damn place.
Right. And then, they running around, having doing sales commercials for Tesla. I mean, putting the full faith, you know what I'm saying, in America behind. Oh, we need to make sure that we're not hurting. They're not even talking about the American public. We need to make sure we're not hurting Elon. He's such a great guy.
But wait a minute. Maybe we could give Trump credit a little bit because there's a lot of Americans that got. You don't even want to hear it. But there are a lot of Americans who have stock in Tesla, 401ks, and things like that.
I do. I do too.
So,
I do.
So if Tesla go down, you're going to hurt, right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could say that. But look, all money ain't good money. If this man is destroying our country, I don't give a shit if he make cars that go 1,000 miles an hour and it can get 1,000 miles per fill up. I don't care. You can't destroy our society.
Yeah.
But then I'd be like, well, I made an extra couple of $1,000 today. Nah.
Yeah. I don't understand. For me, I still do not understand that why Elon took this path because the Tesla for the tree hugging liberals, saving the environment, getting away from fossil fuels. The Tesla was a status symbol for progressives. Why the owner of the Tesla would go join the far right side of the aisle publicly? It's the difference if you're doing the shit in, you're doing it behind the scenes like the owner of the Cincinnati Reds did back in the day, or the owner, but you're doing it out publicly like that. I don't like you're the worst thing for a corporation as a CEO to go far right or far left. I don't understand why he would do that.
And we've already had this conversation. You may not remember, but we've had this conversation. All of those businesses for him are just stepping stones to his ultimate goal. He doesn't give a shit about X. He doesn't give a shit about Tesla. I think he cares about
Tesla is all his money. Most of his income is in Tesla, is it not?
Well, no, like he's uber wealthy. Even if he didn't have Tesla, he's still got Starlink. He's got government billions of dollars worth of government contracts. His ultimate goal, and I've told you before, and we're going to see this pretty soon. His ultimate goal is to have access to all this data for his AI company, which is going to propel him into the trillions, and nobody's going to have a forethought about Tesla anymore. He bought Tesla. He didn't invent Tesla. He's got nothing to do with the designs. He's got nothing to do with anything. He bought into the company. He forced the ownership to put him as a founder on the front page, but he was not a founder. He hasn't designed now rocket or anything that's got to do with SpaceX. He bought those companies and he used his influence to increase the status of those companies. But once he gets all of the information from the U.S. government and he inputs all of that data into his AI companies, Tesla will look like a small pea in a pie.
You think Trump is here to make America great, to make America strong, to make America safe? You think Trump will let him do that?
Yes. As long as Trump gets ultimately what he wants, he doesn't care about other rich people getting what they want. He just wants to be able to be in control or feel like he's in control while it's happening. Because Trump has increased his wealth probably tenfold in the last 10 years. Most of it's been on what? Using those fake crypto pump and dump schemes where him and his wife done milked billions of dollars from those maggots. I hate to use gangster.
You sound like gangster grandma. Well, no, listen, Trump. This is where you're gonna hate me for saying this again, but I'm giving the guy credit for being a successful businessman. A lot of money. Trump has made a ton of money off of merchandising. I mean, to think that millions of Americans got your name all over their hats and shoes and watches and shit. I mean, he's made a lot of money from that too, and that's legit.
I'm not mad at a businessman for making money, But when you start applying that, when you're representing the country, that's different because there are rules, not laws, but there are rules in place where you're not supposed to use the government and the office for financial gain. There are literally rules in place that you're not supposed to do that. So him having an open cryptocurrency where nobody can identify the people who buy, sell, and trade, that means that foreign people can go in and buy $1 billion worth of stuff, contact him separately, and say, listen, this was me right here.
Why is it let me just interrupt you to say this, because I said the same thing, because cryptocurrency is completely untraceable. And if you wanted to do something for Trump, you made some kind of deal with Trump, that would be a perfect way to launder money to him. It's just purchase some of his crypto coin. Why are the Democrats so quiet on that? I mean, that's an obvious major opening conflict of interest, avenue for fraud. Why? Because we know if Hillary Clinton or Kamala Harris or Biden had their own crypto where it was untraceable cash that anybody internationally could invest in, the right would be speaking up about that. They would not be as quiet as the left is about Trump doing it. Why is that?
Part of the reason is because I'm not personally blaming you, is because people keep saying the same shit. Well, he's a businessman, so it's okay.
Yeah,
it's
not like that. Not like that. I get Trump as a businessman, but you can't have an avenue like that. And Arshafine in the comments says they're not being quiet about it. It's just not being televised. The liberals own a hell of a lot of the networks. So
a lot of us have stopped watching mainstream media, and we have reverted back to getting a lot of our information off of social media, TikTok, Facebook. And I know people might say, well, that's not a good idea. But I can get information off of Facebook, and then I can fact check it against different sources. I don't have to sit here and listen to the 24-hour news cycle. Well, Fox says everything he's doing is great. And then on the other side, MSNBC, everything he's doing is bad. I can look at some of the things that is happening. I can look at him in an interview, say that he has no idea that his whole national security cabinet is on a text message and they talking about war plans, and he's saying, I don't know what happened, but they didn't do nothing wrong.
Yeah. Well, that's Trump's go-to phrases. I don't know. Anytime something is hitting the fan, he's going to plead ignorance. I mean, like when Stormy Daniels came up, well, you got to ask my lawyer. I don't know nothing about the check. I mean, that's just what he does.
But at the same token, you also give him credit for talking. So you can't give him credit for talking.
I still give him credit for it.
Truth, when it's time to tell. Look, the best thing that any politician can say is, no comment. I don't know enough about it. No comment. That's not what he does. He can't help himself. He's got to comment about it on his side without even understanding what the hell's going on.
Yeah, that's a problem he's facing now, because they're trying to, Elon Musk firing so many federal employees is starting to cause a ruckus at many of the town halls. So because he's becoming toxic to the Trump administration at some levels, they're trying to now suggest that he's, and AJ, who somebody was talking to in the comments, folks are trying to suggest that Elon is not responsible for the firings. Now, you're correct in pointing out Trump likes to talk and elaborate on subjects. And there are so many clips of him giving Elon credit for firing people, giving Elon credit for sending the letter saying, name 5 things you've done or you can consider it a resignation. It's almost impossible at this stage of the game to suggest that Elon is not responsible for firing federal workers, but they're trying to do that.
They said that he's not even in charge of Doge. It's some lady that's been working in some other branch of government, and she's in charge.
Right.
And she's trying to play along with it because she don't want to lose her job. And like, this stuff is just happening in front of us. All of the time the Republicans have talked about unelected, what do they call them? Unelected bureaucrats. Unelected bureaucrats are running the country. Now we have the biggest unelected bureaucrat in the history of Elon is going down in history as the biggest unelected bureaucrat, and he has done the most damage to this country ever. And one
My
thing I
guess
want to
is after if you get a liberal or you get a moderate Republican, they'll probably end up maybe possibly passing a law to prevent any president in the future from just bringing somebody in without Senate confirmation or anything like that and giving them such a powerful position. I mean, it shouldn't be allowed, even if you favor what Elon Musk is doing. He should have to at least be confirmed by the House, by the House and Senate. He should have to be maybe voted in by the people. It should be more than just the president saying, "This is my guy." I mean, because that's all it is Trump saying, "This is my guy, you can trust him." And that's all that was required. I think they should require a few more checks and balances than that, because if you do get a crooked president, then he might bring in crooked people. And I'm not
well,
just
like
talking
you
about Trump.
said,
Imagine if Nixon brought in his guy, how that would go.
he tried to. And this guy fired people, and they ended up getting jacked up because there were still honest people in the government that said this is a bridge too far.
Yep.
But what the last thing I wanted to say before I leave is I want to tell you about what Speaker Mike Johnson floated today.
Okay.
Have you heard it? He said
No.
Mike Johnson floats eliminating federal courts as the GOP ramps up attacks on the judges. And let me give you a quick quote, so just so you'll know, I try to shoot you straight.
Eliminate federal courts.
Yes,
Wow.
Yes. He said, let me see. He said, we do have the authority over the federal courts. As you know, we can eliminate an entire district court. We have power of funding over the courts and all of these other things. But this desperate times call for desperate measures, and Congress is going to act. So I want all of the MAGAs to take a look at that. When the Speaker of the House is talking about defunding or getting rid of federal courts because they disagree with the President of the United States, and tell me if we are not right there at the bridge between fascism and authoritarianism.
Well, they're going to believe that the federal courts are activist judges and working for the liberals anyway, so they don't care about that. But I get your point.
We can't have a legitimate conversation when they say that they're going to eliminate the federal court system, and we say, well, it's just because the court system is favorable or they don't like Trump. We can't have a legitimate conversation about discourse if that's okay, because then you are admitting to wanting to be a fascist authoritarian country, which they won't do that.
Yeah, I can't imagine any legitimate reason for getting rid of the federal courts. If you got one bad judge, that's one thing, but the whole fucking court system.
Could you have imagined us having this conversation before the election? Could you imagine?
It would have been liberal fear mongering. It would have been liberal fear mongering.
With MAGA saying, "Oh, he's never gonna do that." Yeah. Why would you even say that? You guys.
It would have been called liberal fear mongering. But like I said, every other day, something that normally would be referred to as liberal fear mongering is slowly but surely coming to life. So, didn't Cal? We'll certainly probably be talking about that one in the future, but appreciate you coming through.
All right.
Getting rid of the federal courts. Wow. I was trying to look that up while he was talking about that. I haven't heard that, but I do believe what Denkel is saying. I have no reason not to believe him. It's still fear-mongering because you're twisting his words in goals. MAGA reacts, what is the goal of getting rid of the federal courts? How was that twisted? I mean, if you got one bad judge, talk about the judge, not the entire federal system. What are you talking about? How is that being twisted? Come on now, you're making up excuses for the guy. Maxwell Smart says Bill Clinton was broke. So was Obama. And they both gained from public service. Well, when you compare them to the likes of Trump or Mitt Romney or George W. Bush, yeah, Obama was broke and so were the Clintons. But Bill Clinton was the governor of Arkansas, so he wasn't exactly in a poorhouse. I mean, Jimmy Carter was not rich when he became president either, if I'm correct. But when you say that Obama and Bill Clinton gained from public office, who does it? Who does it? What politician serves his country at the national level and leaves with less than what they came with? They all gained from public office. Trump, as one of my viewers suggested, Trump has multiplied his wealth many times over since he's been in public office. They all do. That ain't something unique to Obama and Clinton. I know Nancy Pelosi is filthy rich. I'm sure Mitch McConnell is filthy rich. They all gain. I mean, in fact, I don't know how you could be a public servant at the congressional level and not, I mean, because at the end of the day, you're passing laws that make a huge difference over people's lives, over corporations' lives. So people are gonna be throwing money at you right and left. I mean, for you to leave national office poorer than you started, you gotta literally be turning down a bunch of shit because stuff is coming at you right and left. There was a movie once called Distinguished Gentleman with Eddie Murphy, where he played a con man running for office using the name of another congressperson that passed away. But he had the same, he legitimately had the same last name. So he ran under this, a name you know and trust. So people just voting naturally for the same congressman they were used to hearing that name. They voted and he won. And he ended up saying that. He said, I came in here on a con job and found out that all of the shit I'm doing in Congress is legal. All of the cons that I used to do on the street once I became a congressman are legal. Because, yeah, people, somebody wants you to pass a law that's in favor of big energy or in favor of electric cars. That person's going to come with millions in cash donations to you. So how could you serve in Washington and not profit from it? I don't think you can stop that. Looking in the comments, people against MAGA are dumb. You know it stands for Make America Great Again. You know we are Americans. Fucking idiots. It's that Ben H. You know we all about free speech, so we appreciate the criticism. I will say this though. There are legitimate reasons to vote for Trump and legitimate reasons to vote against Trump. So I'm pushing back on your comment, Ben, where you say people that vote against MAGA are dumb. Are you pro-choice? Are you pro-life? Are you in favor of common sense gun laws? Are you for shall not be infringed? So it depends on what your politics are. There is no presidential candidate or politician that is so perfect, there's no legitimate reason to vote against them. That makes no sense at all. That's you legitimately saying that Trump is doing such a great job. There is nothing wrong with this guy at all. There's no reason for any American to vote against him. That makes no sense. You know how many Americans know people that are being deported that doesn't deserve to be deported, or people who are being called rapists and murderers that are not rapists and murderers? I mean, there are Americans that are related to Muslims when he tried to pass the Muslim ban. I mean, Trump is a controversial figure. Whether you like him or not, you got to admit he's a controversial figure. So the idea that there's no reason to vote against him makes absolutely no sense at all. Even if he's doing a great job as president, there's always going to be something he's for that works against what you're for. Why would you try to make Trump sound like he's perfect? Looking in the comments, it's a simple Social Security guy. Okay, well, I'm happy Kamala Harris didn't win. Okay, well, Kim, once again, there's a legitimate reason to be happy she didn't win. I just asked you those questions. Are you Christianity in schools? You're not going to get that under Kamala Harris. Continuing to support the Ukraine. You're not going to get that under Trump. I mean, so it depends on what your politics are. Kamala Harris, likely her politics did not fit your narrative. So it makes sense that you would be happy that she didn't win. That makes a lot more sense than suggesting there's no reason to vote against Trump. That's the reason why Trump won, is because the racism. Nature. I don't listen. I do understand that there are racists that support Trump, but I don't believe that's the only reason Trump won. I will tell you, I certainly believe the LGBTQ community had a big part in it. The perceived lack of security at the border had a big part in it. The fact that Biden's mental health Biden was somewhat mentally incompetent to a lot of his voters. There's a lot more than just racism, because there's a lot more people that voted for Trump than just white people. So I don't know if I'm going to just accept that alone, but I'll go back to the box. We'll go to Rant's room. Good evening. Welcome to the program. Now, I'm assuming you're likely disagreeing with some of what I'm saying here. AJ, Welcome to the program. If the box brings you up, they didn't want to vote for a black woman president. There was some of that. I don't disagree. There's some of that. But as I said, the policies of the left are a lot of people did not want to vote for the policies of the left as well. I had somebody send me a clip this morning. The governor of Oregon is suggesting that standardized testing in math, reading, and English, if you can speak English properly, is hurting people of color. So the governor of Oregon is removing standardized tests to graduate from high school. So you can graduate from high school if you don't properly speak English. The level, the competency in math is no longer requirement anymore. That's stuff from the left that people don't like. That's crazy. And I was trying to find a way to prove what she sent me was not true, but I couldn't. It's actually true that they're doing that. You're going to hear a lot more about DEI people coming out of Oregon with something like that. AJ, I tried to bring up the last caller. We'll go back to Miss Mo Betta. You don't know what you're talking about, says user 448. Then elaborate on it. We'll bring you up. Miss Mo Betta, good evening.
Good evening, Tim. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, loud and clear. So we're talking about, well, first of all, I had a caller suggest that you're a fucking idiot if you vote against Trump. Where does that come from?
Says an idiot who voted for him.
Well, I mean, listen,
you can't make this shit up with them, Tim. You really can't. Trump does things in their face, and they'll still say that he didn't do it. Which we see now. He really is trying to be a dictator. We see all the evidence, everything that he's removing. The people that he's going after are people who can actually challenge him, which is the federal judges. If he used to get rid of, because federal judges have the power, they have the power to stop executive orders and check him. Anything or anybody, any entity that can check his ass, that's what he wants to get rid of. He has a revengeful heart. His spirit is totally revengeful. He came in the door that way. He came in kicking down doors.
Yeah.
Because
I don't think it's any debate. I don't think it's even up for debate whether Trump is a vengeful person or not, because the right even wants him to, go after the people they perceive went after him. So revenge is definitely, on the list for Trump. I don't disagree with that one at all. But you would agree there are some legitimate reasons to vote for Trump, though, wouldn't you?
Don't start your shit, Tim.
What?
Don't start your shit with me. You already know what my answer is with that.
You're telling me there is no reason at all to vote for Trump? No reason at all for an American to vote for Trump?
No, the way that he's moving now, no. Because, all right, the first term, we didn't want him and then either, and they'd be like, all right, we got to give him a chance. How can you give him a chance with the way he's acting? You're not going after, tariffs or whatever, but everything he's doing, it affects American people if he's so-called making America great again. How's firing Americans, taking them out of jobs that they've been in for 10, 15, 20 years without evidence, without due process, without any of that stuff, claiming that there was fraud. Point out the fraud to me. Point out to where, and what he did was demonize the LGBTQ community as far as, they're selling books, they're reading books in libraries and stuff. This was the excuse that they came up with that. Yeah. Because contrary to what people believe, the LGBTQ, trans, or whoever, they're not harming anybody. And if it's so-called immoral, as far, they have to answer to God for that, not you. Let me push, dictating how people live their lives.
Let me push back. Let me put my MAGA hat on and push back. When you say the LGBTQ community is not harming people, the mindset of MAGA is that if you introduce young children to that lifestyle, you have a possibility of swaying their opinion and making LGBTQ children in areas where they may not have been likely to go that way.
Well, see, this is where you goes back to your household. How are you raising your children? What are you telling them? You understand what I'm saying? Because if my household, if we're running a Christian household where we know they're going to see things when you go out in the world, in the so-called world. So that they see of a LGBTQ, whatever, the ABCD element of P community. No offense, but if that's what they see, they'll know my parents didn't raise me like that. My parents didn't teach me
Yeah,
that
but
way.
what about impressionable children that may only have a single parent that's working all the time? You know, the streets do raise a lot of these kids out here nowadays.
That's true. I get it. That's true. But that so they can also learn gang violence.
Yeah.
They can learn how to SA people. They can learn a lot of things. You understand when it comes to that. Why demonize the trans community or gay people? Why demonize just that set of people? That set of that group of people.
Well, you do understand also that a lot of the right are God fearing Americans, and they do believe a lot of that lifestyle is a sin. That has a lot to do with it as well.
I want the first person in here without sin raise their hand.
Good point.
Because if you want to get into that talk right now, sin, God sees sin one way. It doesn't matter if it was a murder or if it was essaying or if it was stealing. It's all a sin to him. You understand? So you can't go being selective of what you want to call a sin. Now, are some things morally worse than others? Absolutely. Like people out here messing with little kids and all kind of stuff. That stuff is disgusting. But like I said, you're judging the trans community for that. But people, again, you want to go do the research. Most of the essays and all of that stuff for young children and whatever come from people that happen in your own family
Yeah.
or a neighbor or a friend. So we have to start being truthful about how things are running. And like the other guest was saying, nature, majority of why Kamala didn't win is because one, she was a black, and then two, she was a woman. And there's no way these white Christian nationalists were going to have a black woman running this country.
So you think
Period.
a lot of it had to do with sexism and racism?
Absolutely, a major part of it. And with Elon controlling the machines and stuff too.
I'm hearing a lot of it had to do with the notion that Kamala Harris was a bad candidate. She didn't come across as authentic. She lied about Biden's competency. They didn't secure the border. Any of that?
Listen, she probably did. She should have stood 10 toes down and said, but who gets up there and speaks about their bosses, the decline of their mental status? That's just not going to happen.
Well,
look at how Trump is running now.
Yeah.
Do you hear any of his people talking against him? Absolutely not.
That's a great point.
Absolutely
But
not.
but let me say
it's
this,
not going to happen.
and I don't disagree with you that the lower level people often don't want to speak out against their boss. But the problem is if your boss goes down, you're going to go down with him. Okay, Kamala Harris did not speak out against Biden's competency, trying to protect her boss. So when her boss went down, she went down with him. The same is likely to happen on the right. If Trump is doing all kinds of wild shit and the Republican Congress don't say anything about it, when Trump gets voted out, a lot of them probably gonna go too.
Which we can only hope.
Yeah.
Which we can all hope, because we know is right now, as far as the Republican side, is nothing but cronyism going on.
I mean, I'll give you an example. The Iraq War was very unpopular. And a lot of Republicans stood beside George W. Bush. A lot of them lost their careers for that.
Well, a lot of people went to jail for Trump also.
Yeah.
Look how many people have either been fired, went to jail, and all of that stuff. Look at Giuliani couldn't even practice anymore. He can't practice nowhere, and he ended up owing a big bag for that.
Yeah, he owed it, and he paid that bag. Believe it or not,
he had to get that. He had to sell off assets and all kinds of stuff to pay that.
I
bag.
don't know if that happened. I would not be surprised if because Trump is hanging around some gazillionaires. He got Elon Musk on his team. He got Jeff Bezos on his team. He got Mark Zuckerberg. It wouldn't surprise me if Trump told him, I got somebody. He's a great guy. I owe him a bunch of favors. I wouldn't be here today to help you guys out. I need you to look out for him. I'm going to pass a really big hat. I need a little something in it.
This is why I said it's nothing but cronyism. So you talk about taking away DEI just to replace it with cronyism? Where does that equal out? Where does that balance the pendulum? It does. It's the same thing. It's worse, actually.
Well, they believe the cronies might make America much better than the liberals have.
Yeah, in their world, it might. No, in their world, it might be a better day for them. It's better for them because I got all my peoples in place. So with Pennsylvania winning the Democrats in Pennsylvania winning today, that kind of shuffled them. It's going to shuffle them because Pennsylvania was big for them in this last election. Pennsylvania was
Yeah.
the big name ticket for them. So now that the Democrats won the Senate seat over in Pennsylvania, let's see what happens now. Like you said, all beforehand, when Trump lost before, it was all kind of fraud. You don't hear him mention not one thing about election fraud
And I
since
don't,
he's been in
and
there.
that right there to me is telling that you've been complaining for years that the election was stolen, you won by a landslide, and now you're giving all of the levers of government, and you're not showing any proof of any of this.
Right, right.
It is telling, but as I said before in the program many times, if you support Trump, if you are MAGA, you don't need proof of anything he says. If he says it, that's good enough. Like when Elon Musk was finding millions, if not billions of dollars in waste, fraud, and abuse, they're giving Elon Musk credit of doing all kinds of great things for America because they don't need any proof that is real. He
Yep.
said it, that's good enough. So,
Yep. Just because he said it, and I just wanted to expound on something you was talking about earlier as far as like sending stuff back to the states.
yes.
First, that's a horrible thing for a lot of states. Maybe not for like New York
But
because of the
sending what?
diversity,
Sending what back to the states
like
exactly?
education and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Sending it back to the states. Oh, we're going to send it back to the states. Oh, that's easy. So, but you go to a state like Alabama and Mississippi. A lot of the southern states, pretty much, when they were living in that Jim Crow era, and now that they took it away, that where segregation, all of the segregation and stuff, all of that stuff was taken away. What do you think is going to happen in these states?
Yeah. I mean, and not to mention with Ron DeSantis talking about there's benefits to slavery, or even if we want to go to the far left, people often call Tim Walz tampon Tim. So we're going to say that we're going to suggest that it's better to give the education, put education back in the hands of the states. When we got one governor that's in favor of putting tampons in the boys' bathroom and another that's saying slavery benefited the slaves. You think that's a better environment than letting the federal government?
Exactly. And then again, you're going to have a lot of kids that are starving. They're going to starving because sometimes school is the only place that they can receive a meal. You know, stuff like that is real. But when you have people that haven't faced those kind of adversities, they think that it's just a hoax because it's not happening to them. And just because it's not happening to you doesn't mean that it's not happening.
Well, now this is addressed to you specifically. I want to run this comment by you. And it's not necessarily, well, it's criticism, but it's not harsh,
Okay.
but it is of something
Okay.
you said. Maga React says, Miss Mobetta, another person living in 1965, suggesting you're still in the past. 1965, he's saying that it is currently 2025. Even Alabama is very diverse and woke. So, in other words, what you're talking about is outdated.
First of all, MAGA reacts, you have the right to remain silent. Number one, you should remain humble, bro. From what you was just telling us about your paperwork, you should really shut the fuck up. Period. Now, and I'm living in 2025. We shouldn't be talking about this stuff, but we are because it is a reality. And like I said, for people who haven't experienced things like that's happening, they don't believe that it's happening. He's a prime example. But you need to be quiet for Lamiga to come looking for your ass, MAGA reactor. You need to change your name. That MAGA name won't save you when ICE pull up on your ass.
You know, the man said he's from Egypt. He doesn't know for certain if he's a U.S. Yeah, to me, I'm like, man, that is, because like Denkow said, you're from one of those shithole countries. That could come back to bite him. I was really amazed to hear him say that.
That makes no sense. You don't have to be scared of ICE either for them to snatch your ass up. There was a lot of people on in the roundups that wasn't afraid of ICE.
Yeah.
But when they come knocking on that door, stop playing.
Yeah, and they're not trying to hear any excuse you got at that point. They're just coming.
Yeah,
They're coming
they
to
was
grab
taking
you.
people that actually had legal paperwork to be here. What you think they do for your ass who don't even know what your birth certificate at?
So what
Boy,
do you?
bye.
Before I move it on from you, okay, Trump's only been in office for 2 months. I know it feels like a lot longer. It actually feels like Biden was never in there, and this is just Trump beginning his third term. But what I want to ask you is this: what do you foresee over the next 3 years? I mean, we got 3+ years of Trump. How do you think we're going to
Ooh.
fare?
It's gonna be a long ride. It really is. It's gonna be tough because right now, like you said, it don't even seem like Biden was even in office, and it's been less than 90 days since this new administration has taken over, and it's been nothing but chaos. And they keep saying, "Oh well, he is playing." He's doing nothing. He talks out of both sides of his face. You talk about drill, baby, drill, but yet you out here trying to sell EVs in front of the White House. How, is that not a double standard, Tim?
That is somewhat of a.
I'm just saying. I'm asking for clarity.
Yeah, I do believe that some of the legal eagles have suggested that telling people to buy a Tesla, he violated some law. I mean, he's not going to face any punishment for it, but you don't suppose that.
It is a law. They were just talking about that he's not supposed to really promote anything as far as somebody I forgot. I drew a blank, but they were talking about that. He's not supposed to be promoting people's product as the president, and especially on the lawn of the White House.
Yeah,
So he believes he's above the law.
Yeah, well, but one of my viewers, Zach C on YouTube, told me to let you know that Trump is the GOAT, the greatest of all time. So if you had to give Trump a letter grade like in high school, A, B, C, D, or F, Miss Mobetta, what letter grade?
He gets a minus G.
What the fuck is a minus G?
Exactly. He's not even on the Richter scale. His ass got a 0.
All right, Miss Mobetta.
He has. First of all, his representation is poor. He has 0 leadership skills. He bullies his way around. He thinks he's above the law, and he doesn't respect people. And it shows in all of his actions.
A minus G.
He gets a minus G.
All right, Miss Mobetta. Appreciate you coming through.
Indeed.
All right, moving on with the program. So apparently she doesn't agree with you, Zach C, suggesting that he's the greatest of all time. You know, listen, I'm not going to give him a minus G because I do believe that if you're finding millions, if not billions of dollars in waste, fraud, and abuse, that is good for the American government. If you're finding all kinds of fraud. But the difference between me and MAGA is my opinion on Elon Musk in regards to all of this waste, fraud, and abuse being found is I'm not going to throw him under the bus just yet. I'm going to reserve my opinion for proof. Like I stated earlier in the program, if you support Trump, you don't need any proof. Anything they say, you just believe it. Now, if what Elon Musk is saying is true, then yeah, that's a really good thing he's doing. But I'm not going to just buy it on face value for one simple reason. A lot of things that Elon Musk has stated has already come out to be proven false, like the transgender mice receiving millions of dollars. Turns out it was transgenic mice, where they were doing research on the mice to determine if they could come up with cures for cancer. And the Republican or the Trump administration referred to it as transgender mice. So that was completely wrong. And there's a lot of things he's exaggerated numbers, whereas he claimed he was saving billions when it was actually millions, where multiple additional zeros were added. So I'm going to reserve my opinion on Elon until I actually see the evidence because keep in mind, they're boasting about finding waste, fraud, and abuse. Fraud is a crime. Nobody's being prosecuted. Why is that? If you're finding fraud everywhere, why is no one being prosecuted for it? So I'm going to reserve my opinion on Elon until I see more proof. If I don't see the proof, then, as far as I'm concerned, then they're making up stuff. But if I see the proof, I'll be the first one on here arguing with liberals, suggesting that maybe you got to give Elon credit for what he said and what turned out. We'll see what happens in the future. But continuing on with the program, bro, let them build the damn case the fuck. Well, look, who says that? I can't barely. Basically said, let them build a fucking case before you start criticizing them. Well, let them build a damn case before you start celebrating it. How about that? You're going to suggest that I'm wrong for criticizing Elon because they've only been in office for 2 months. Let them build a case before you start fucking with them. Well, let them build a case before you start celebrating. How about that? That's the only point I'm trying to make. If there's not enough time they've been in office for me to criticize, there's not enough time they've been in office for you to celebrate. You don't have any more proof than I have detraction. I think that's fair. I don't think that's being critical or celebratory. I want to see proof. I want to see evidence. How about that? I don't see anything wrong with that. While there are politicians sitting there like victims because somebody found out their inside trading and stealing our money. And that's another major issue I will say as well. Let's say Elon is finding billions of dollars in waste. If you don't see any of the money, if it doesn't change your life at all as an American, how do you know, as what my viewer pointed out, that they're not pocketing that money? Jumping up and down about people getting fired and millions of dollars of waste being determined, but you don't get any of it and it doesn't benefit the American people. I don't know if that's even something to celebrate. Right now, they've claimed they found tons of money in waste. I haven't heard anything of how this is going to benefit the American people. A whole lot of folks are giving them credit for finding the waste. How does it benefit you though? So I think that certainly is a good point to bring up. Arsha Fine, good evening or welcome to the program, Arsha. What did I hit there? It will help all
Hey
the
there.
people. Hang on a second, Arsha. Now in the comments, Nightmare says it will help all the people in the long run. Just like with Elon, as I stated, I'm totally in favor of what you just said. I just need proof. I don't believe in just blindly following an administration. You're blindly saying that everything they're doing is going to help out America in the long run. Based on what? Just blind loyalty? Arsha, good evening.
Hello. It's been a while.
Appreciate you coming through, though. So, what do you think? I mean, you've seen a lot since we last talked. Have you seen anything good? It's a long pause.
Actually, yes, I have. I have seen something good.
Give me some
what
examples.
I've seen, I'm going to tell you what I've seen, which is a little bit different than 2016, is the amount of protests that are happening in the United States. Of course, it's not getting televised in Canada. I mean, here even, where I live, all kinds of people assembling, whether it be scientists marching for science or women's marches or whatever the case, people, protesting, keeping the Department of Education. Like, I believe that people, and so many Americans at this point, in some sort of way, either know somebody or are somebody that's being affected in some sort of way. So I do feel that that's good because that's mobility and understanding and gathering.
Well, I'm going to say you mentioned protests in Canada. The Canadian protests are kind of irrelevant. It's not.
Well, well, it might not be. It might be irrelevant to us because we are Americans. But if the Canadian Prime Minister, was talking about making us a part of Canada, we might be feeling that same sort of way. Because we're a sovereign nation.
Yeah.
The only way to obtain another country is
Trump has been incredibly insulting to the nation of Canada. I mean, calling their prime minister, who was Trudeau at the time, Governor Trudeau, that's like literally saying you are below me. I mean, that's incredibly insulting to another prime minister to do that.
And as a person, when you have the people above and the people below that we've been, allies, they've gone to war with us, they've sacrificed people, people in Mexico, they send firefighters to help us with fire. Like, these are not our enemies. That's why we've had free trade all this time. Right?
I don't know why he did that. I mean, he's also stated that Canada does not work as a country; it only works as a state. I mean, he's been incredibly insulting to that country. We can talk about how Trump likes to troll and things like that, but they're
But
not taking that any other way other than seriously. I mean, I don't know why he would do that.
right. I think the most important thing, in my opinion, that people should be paying attention to is his total infringement on the First Amendment.
How so? In what way?
Like being able to assemble. Okay, so a judge or somebody or a reporter or anybody that has done anything that he believes is anti him or his thoughts, like I'm gonna deport you. I'm gonna. Well, you know what? You believe that the Palestinians or people
Right.
protesting to in the war are anti-Semitic. Why aren't you putting those people that marched in Charleston over in frickin' El Salvador? Because they were chanting all kinds of anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna let white supremacists or Proud Boys or these groups have, it's not illegal. They let it have, they sign a thing. We're gonna have a thing. Then you can't punish people just because it's something you don't like. I don't like white supremacists marching down the street, but it's their, as long as they're
But
not
do
causing
you
harm.
believe that an immigrant should have the same free speech rights as a natural born American in the country?
Well, yeah, you're like on the land.
I'm not.
I mean, if I go to some other country, I have to abide by their government rules.
Mm-hmm. Well, the reason
Like,
I'm asking that is because now you had the guy Mahmoud, whatever his name is, Mahmoud Abad, whatever his name is. He was speaking in favor of Hamas, and
no, actually, he was not. He was speaking in favor of Palestine. There's a just because you're speaking against.
No, I know. There's a difference between the Palestinians and Hamas. But you're saying the guy at Columbia University was not
he never
speaking
once said that, but that's what he's charged with. Okay. Because you're if you're pro Palestine, then you're pro terror. Like you can't. I'm right. Pro. I believe they should have their sovereign rights to being humanity and being recognized as a people. To have their civil rights and everything done. I am not pro Hamas in any way. I think if you're going to be a terrorist, today there was like the largest demonstration in the Palestine in Gaza of Palestinians protesting Hamas because they want them to stop. So
I don't know how you get rid of. Let me just say this: the Israelis do not treat the Palestinians. I mean, take Hamas out of the picture. Hold up. They don't treat the Palestinians fairly, even without Hamas. If you go back to October 6th, the day before the invasion on October 7th that Hamas did in Israel, they were treating the Palestinians as less than. So even if you get rid of if you decimate all of Hamas, the movement that Hamas stood for will still remain. It's kind of like how a lot of folks do not favor Black Lives Matter and they're saying they're terrorists. It's the movement. The message of what they're fighting for will not go away if you just eliminate the group because the cause of what they're fighting for still exists.
You're not even allowed as an IDF or Israeli soldier to criticize the government because you'll be jailed. It is becoming, Netanyahu has been around for a very long time. He anybody to say who doesn't have free elections, that at this point is, I have no problems with Jewish people or anything. I have tons of friends. I've been to synagogues, but a government can be doing harmful things, and it doesn't mean it's the people. Just the same thing as vice versa. Hamas could be, but I also want to change the subject because.
Hold up. Before you do, I want to respond on one thing real quick, and I'll let you continue. Draco, you're saying how were they treated less than just making up statements. Well, when you say how were the Palestinians treated less than, they had no passports. Israel controlled all of their utilities, everything from fishing off of their own shore. They could do nothing without Israeli approval. They could not leave Gaza without Israeli approval. So they have no international travel, anything. Anything they did in that country, they needed Israeli approval. That's how they're being treated as less than. Go ahead, Arsha.
I listened to an interview with a former IDF soldier, worked in the government, and he also, went to school, grew up, and also he was saying K through 12 in the Israel education system, you are taught that there's no such thing as a Palestinian, that they don't have their own culture, they don't have their own language, that the actual word Palestinian isn't.
So they're trying to wipe them out. That's genocide.
Well, you're just not recognizing a people. It's kind of like, transgender. You're not really trans. You're mentally
they're trying to wipe them out. They're trying to act as though they don't exist.
Yes. So I wanted to say something. I heard a caller. God, there was so much I heard, but there was a caller, kind of along the lines of, if you have, like eliminating or getting rid of or going against the LGBTQ, if you have these books, if you have these things, you're going to get influence. It's going to turn you gay, right? Yeah. So why is it that such a small amount of the population hasn't been influenced by all the straight people and all the straight propaganda and all the Disney movies where how come they somehow missed the Kool-Aid of like, this is, you can't, if you flip it makes no sense. But again, like today in Budapest, Hungary, the president or prime minister there, Orban or whatever that Donald Trump really likes, literally there's a law against, they passed a law banning pride. So you're not allowed, it's illegal now for them to LGBTQ communities to get together and I'm actually looking at it right now, and have the freedom of assembly for that particular group.
So you can't openly.
I'm going to tell you the exact reason why Orban did this. Mm-hmm. He wanted to promote Christian conservative agenda, and he believed that the parade was bad for children.
Yeah. And that's how they're getting.
What I'm trying to say is
they're getting a lot of steam from that, because that if you can convince people that something is harmful to children, you're going to get a lot of people that are going to support going against it.
Yeah. Isn't like eliminating SNAP and school lunch harmful to children?
Yeah, no doubt. But they're okay with that.
And I also want to say, as his first however many days, the GOP having all of their power and everything, hasn't done shit. All he's done, I'm going to say why. They have not passed any legislation. They're not talking about the economy. I thought we were talking about making people happier so they could buy homes. The housing was
well, but here this is why I say that
signing little papers and sitting on a thing and going, look what I did today, Mom.
Well, but here's why I say my opinion on Trump. I'm holding it before throwing him under the bus. The belief on the right is that the tariffs and things like that will make the economy significantly better. It's just going to take some time. When Trump said there's going to be
Trump, I'm talking about the GOP has both the Senate and the House. They're not doing shit. You're not bringing up any legislation or bills, nothing. Yeah. You guys have literally just sat and argued and bitched and just letting, king and queen.
Yeah. They're pretty much, you're correct. Shit. They're pretty much just sitting back and letting Trump do what he thinks is best for the country. That is true. The Republican Congress is not really passing anything. They're just backing Trump because they believe he has all the right ideas.
Well, and exactly, they're not working. They're just sitting there collecting a paycheck. And that's not, you can be MAGA and you can be pro-Trump, but if you can't see that the party, the House and and the Senate are not working for the American people right now when he supposedly has a mandate, then they're just in a cult.
They don't care about the Republicans sitting in Congress. They care about Trump, and they think Trump is doing what's best for the country. That's all they need is that one guy. To me, right now the Republican Party is kind of like an episode of kind of like the series Law and Order SVU. As long as you got Mariska Haggerty, you can flip the characters all over the place. As long as you keep that one character, you got a good series. That's kind of, as long as you keep Trump, everybody's and expendable. You can get rid of Vance, or they like Elon, but if Elon left, long as you got Trump, it's a good series. And I think that's kind of where we're at.
I see it as Trump is more infallible than the Pope.
Yeah, I see that.
If you're MAGA, but that's not how. If you're a Catholic conservative and we've really put him at the
Pope is woke. The Pope is woke, so they're going to pick Trump over the Pope.
He's not that woke, Tim. He's more woke than the previous, but even still, he's still pretty.
When the Pope started talking about the LGBTQ community is kind of acceptable, that's too woke for the right.
He didn't say it was acceptable. He said he was the more
just
of the
mentioning it, just even mentioning it,
past the first stone kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, that's too woke for the right. I got to move it on, but I do agree with you in regards to the comparison of the Pope.
I'm fairly confident that I'm a little bit grayer over these last however many days, many weeks. 2 months feels like 2 years. We'll see. I really wish, if it wasn't for the fact I love my children and my family, I would just be in a cryo freezer.
Damn. You couldn't go hang out with Rosie O'Donnell or Richard Gere or Ellen DeGeneres. They've all left.
I might not be able to get back, Tim. They're going to look at my phone and be like, ooh, she's not a Trump supporter. Let's send her back to Venezuela. And I'm not even Venezuelan.
Well, as long as America is in a situation where looking at your phone can get you denied access, you probably don't want to come back anyway.
True that.
All right, Arsha. Thank you.
All right.
Good talk.
Bye.
And that is an interesting point to make. I used to go back and forth overseas a lot when I lived in Australia, and I've never had immigration ask to see my phone and ask for the passcode. I've never had it happen, but apparently that is something they do. I heard it started with the Patriot Act. I've never had that happen. Like, you go through my phone, you're on Facebook, and you hear that I said something negative about the president. So that's affecting whether I can enter the country or not, which basically means the only reason you should be allowed, the only way you can get in is you need to be favorable to the president. That really does sound like some kind of fascist nightmare, in my opinion. Real quick in the comments, I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Trump is an ass. Damn, miss. Someone in the comments said Trump is too many women on SSI and Bezos' case and point this lady. I don't know what you mean by that. They just let Biden destroy our country. I don't know if the country was destroyed under Biden. I think that's strong language. I mean, listen, the border, a lot of folks did not like what was going on at the border. But the country was not destroyed. I mean, what is your definition of a destroyed America? I'd have to know what you mean by that to point out, Trump took office on January 20th of this year. So you're telling me on January 19th, America was destroyed? I've seen photos of Gaza. I've seen photos of the Ukraine. That's what destroyed looks like. I don't see where America was destroyed. There were areas we could use some correction, but destroyed seems like very strong language. Good thing our borders are closed, says Kim Smith. I do believe that that's true. I do believe that our borders are very, very tight under President Trump. And as a lot of folks are saying, that's what we voted for. So listen, like I said, I see legitimate reasons to vote for Trump, but I don't believe he's perfect to the point where there's no reason to vote against him, as somebody in the comments once said. Before we continue on, ask that you tap the screen, get the likes on up to about 70,000. A good minute of tapping will help out the program, help out the algorithm. Tap the screen, get the likes up, show the program some love. Borders are just a distraction. No, people voted for secure borders. It ain't like that was something that only came up when Trump was in office. They were complaining about the lack of border security under Biden's entire administration. So it was being brought up. Real quick in the comments, a young family in Western North Carolina froze to death because Biden wouldn't give FEMA funds. I don't know if I buy that Carly is here because the FEMA funds that Biden was allowed to give was $700. That's what you get, emergency funding from FEMA right after a major disaster. They give you $700. That's designed to go out and get a little bit to eat, diapers and wipes for your infant if you got one. Sanitary shit like toothpaste and soaps and things like that. You're talking about a family froze to death. There's more to that story than that. There's more to that story. You're saying that a family in Western North Carolina froze to death because Biden would not give FEMA funds. There's way more to that story. And by the way, I'll tell you this, because Biden had nothing to do individually with that particular family. It's a failure of FEMA, which is controlled by Biden during that time, but chances are Biden had no idea of anything that family was going through. And that's what will be said if it happened under Trump. But like I said, I do believe there's a lot more to that story because that's all they can give you is $700. How are you freezing to death? There's more to that. Is that the two young girls? I haven't heard about the story, but there's got to be more to it. No way, handsome liberal, you're being so neutral. Like, I love your hand holding, but we gotta get real. These people make up stuff. Both sides make up stuff. I'm not going to disagree with that. I know, particularly on the 2020 election, I bring that up all the time. Trump does make up a whole lot more, in my opinion, simply because he talks to the media more. Biden did not go before the cameras as much. In fact, I don't know any politician that goes before the cameras as much as Trump. And Trump does make up a lot of stuff. He knows how to work the media very well. He knows how to troll. He knows how to sensationalize stories. And oftentimes that involves saying things that are either exaggerated, not true, or just fabricated lies out of thin air. I'm still waiting to see a whole lot of things he said, such as the Haitian migrants eating cats and dogs. Trump passed a law during his first term that made it a felony to abuse animals. So clearly you care about animals. Okay, now you're back in. What is the follow-up in Springfield, Ohio? What have you done? You said they're eating pets. What have you done since you got elected to make sure that's not happening anymore? It just stopped. Just no communication at all on something you brought up that alarmed everybody. And that's kind of been the whole spiel of the whole Trump political presidency from day one, going all the way back to 2015. It's to say things that are really sensationalized and literally follow up with nothing. I remember when Obama was in office and Trump was on Bill O'Reilly's show, the whole birther movement. Remember Obama being born in Kenya? And he told Bill O'Reilly that he had investigators in Kenya. And this is a quote. He said, "You'll be amazed at what they're finding." They were looking into whether Obama was born in Kenya. He said, "You would be amazed at what they were finding." Never came back and told us what they found or anything. Just a sensational story. It got media attention and it led to nothing. Same thing with the Haitian migrants and a lot of this other stuff. Just these big stories, but then there's same thing with the 2020 election. Like, okay, but this stuff leads to nothing. The Dominion voting machine switching votes from Trump to Biden was a sensational story that would have led to nothing if Dominion didn't decide to start suing them for it. So I'm okay with pointing out things that are wrong or fraudulent, but show your work, show some evidence. And he often does not. Real quick, looking in the comments, Obama name is Barry. Okay, meaning what? What does that? I mean, there's a lot of Americans named Barry. What does that mean? His birth certificate was proven false. Okay, then why did Trump come back and suggest otherwise? Then, if that doesn't, you're saying his birth certificate. And by the way, I watched who was it at the time? Sheriff Joe Arpaio. He did a 3-part series claiming that that Obama's birth certificate was false. And the whole story made no sense at all. But I do want to show you something because this is in regards.
Look no further than busy.com. Right now, we'll complete your LLC file.
This is in regards to suggesting that Obama's birth certificate was proven false. If Obama was born somewhere else, can somebody explain this?
Now, not to mention her in the same breath, but Hillary Clinton and her campaign of 2008 started the birther controversy. I finished it. You know what I mean. President Barack Obama was born in the United States, period. Now we all want to get back to making America strong and great again. Thank you.
Now, if Obama was born somewhere else, can somebody explain that? So somewhere along the line, then Trump is lying about something, right? Somewhere he's telling a lie. Either the birthday part of him is lying or this statement here is a lie. This is what I'm talking about when I say just saying things and following up with nothing. This makes it obvious that at some point when it comes to Obama's location of birth, Trump is lying somewhere. Can somebody explain that? Because I got a viewer right now who's claiming, well, his birth certificate was proven to not to be legit. Then what's going on with this statement right here? So yeah, a lot of the things, like I said, I don't want to throw the guy under the bus if it's wrong to do so, but he does say a hell of a lot of stuff that he doesn't prove, and it just goes to dead ends, and you just are supposed to accept it, which is why I said earlier in the broadcast, MAGA, as far as Trump supporters are concerned, all he does is need to say it, and that's good enough for them. I'm not in that category. I'll give him credit if he deserves it, but I'm not just going to automatically accept anything he says as fact. I didn't do it with Biden. I'm not going to do it with Trump. User, good evening. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, by the way, this is my alt account. This is Jeremy.
Oh, okay. Welcome back. I saw you in the comments. I didn't know that was you, but
Yeah, what's up, man? You got a lot of delusional callers, I swear. Or like gangster grandma. She sounds like the whitest grandma I've ever heard in my life.
she says she's part black, part Dominican.
Yeah, well, I think she's part smoking a little bit of the math minus the E. Minus the A, I should say.
You saying replace the A with an E. You said she's smoking meth.
What? Yep, subtract the A, add an E.
What did she say that's so controversial to you or wrong?
Oh, well, it was just her overall demeanor. She was like...
Okay.
Also, she said a lot of untrue things like that kids aren't going to be able to eat school lunches because of getting rid of the Department of Education. The Department of Education has no control over school lunches. That's handled at the state level. That's always been handled at the state level.
Well, but think about it though. If you start giving the rights back to the states and they start canceling programs, then the only reason that program got canceled is because you gave the right to them to do it. I mean,
they always had that right.
You're telling me the school governments around the country, they don't get any federal funding that helps pay for school lunches?
I'm saying it never came from them. Now, do they get federal subsidies? Yes. And does the federal government use a little bit of that to influence a little bit here? You could argue with that. But guess what? Some schools in the country don't even have those programs.
So you're saying that
it's been a state thing, Tim. Okay. It's always been up to the states.
I think the way you're explaining this shows that's not true. You're admitting that the schools do get money from the federal government, which means that
Never
they can.
For that.
But if they're getting money for other stuff, it frees up money that they can use for lunches and things like that. If they suddenly start receiving federal government money for any damn thing, money that they're giving children for lunches may have to go to cover something else.
No.
How do you know that?
A lot of these state governments already have so much money they could actually lower the amount that they're taxing their people and actually give more away in the form of lunches.
You know there's a lot of very poor states out there that don't fit the narrative of what you just said.
That, Tim. I am very well aware of that. Even then, the federal government and the state governments both waste a lot of money when it comes to education. School. That's why I support school choice, which would be 1,000 times better than what we have now. And if you don't think so, here's my question for you: why is it It's that that a public school education is so good that it can't compete with school choice.
Explain why you think school choice is good. That's what I'm trying to figure out. What's making you say that? What's better about school choice than public school?
Because there are some schools that can't accommodate everybody all the time. The free market does a much better job of giving multiple different choices to multiple different places.
If you got money.
Let's be honest.
If you got money.
A lot of public schools suck. A lot of public schools suck because they're run by dumbasses.
But here's the problem with that. The free market operates on profit. And when we when you say the free market would be better at it, yeah, for people that got money, if you got money, you're going to get better schooling than people who don't. In fact, if you don't have money at all, you may not get any schooling.
And what's the issue?
Poor people don't get educated?
Poor people will always have an option for education.
What is that option?
See, part of what school choice does is this. You get a voucher, okay? You get a voucher where instead of getting, if you want to go to a charter school, or you want to go to a private school, or any other foreign school, or you want to even homeschool, you don't get taxed the same way you would if you were to go to public school.
Okay, that ain't that. Poor people.
If you can't afford to pay taxes, Tim, you're probably so poor so that you can't afford to even feed your kids, and at that point, you should give them up for adoption. I'm standing 10 toes down on this. I am dead serious. I'm an adoptee myself. My parents were poor as fuck. Okay, and they couldn't keep me. They gave me up for adoption. That's how I came to the U.S. in the first place. I'm an immigrant from Colombia.
So you're telling me, let's say a single mom, some of these folks you guys are forcing now that they can't terminate the baby anymore. You force a 15, 16-year-old to carry a baby to term. And you're telling me because she's poor, she should then have to get a baby up for adoption because she doesn't have enough money.
Why not?
That's what I heard.
More, the child or the mom?
Wait, you said if you cannot afford to take care of your kids, you probably should give it up for adoption.
Exactly. That's what I said. And I'm saying, why not say give it up for adoption? It's literally in the name. Add the option to your life. Add option, adoption.
Well, what if nobody's there to adopt your kid? I think what you're saying is insane, but what if you can't find a lot of children of color don't adopt very well. So what if you can't find people to adopt all these kids? That is true. That is absolutely true. That children.
If you saw my skin tone, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, you're not white passing."
I'm going to say what I just said again. You're talking about your specific example. Children of color do not adopt very well. Who do you think fills the foster homes in America? So if everybody's waiting to adopt, you shouldn't need a foster care system. They should all be finding parents, and that's not happening.
Okay, so. Not everyone is going to get adopted, Tim, but the majority of kids who go on adoption do get adopted.
That's not true.
And let's go all the way down this rabbit hole, okay? Let's go all the way. Actually, let's get back to what we were saying. So, with school choice is you're going to be. Hold on, let me just address Michael, who's a total shill for the DNC. Anyway, I wonder how much they pay him. You're immersed in white tea privilege. Yeah, keep telling yourself that, sweetheart. Okay. Yeah, I wonder how much is the DNC.
You are saying some shit that sound like you've been privileged, though. I mean, if you're poor, you should give your kids up for adoption. You know how many people struggle?
You want to know something? I've been homeless twice. Is everyone who thinks I'm white tea privileged can go fuck themselves?
You know how many parents that would tell you to go fuck yourself by saying, look, I live with my kids in a car, or I live with my kids in a shelter. I finally got a job, finally made it out of school, and now we're all living good. But according to you, I would have had to give my shit up for adoption? I mean, that's what you're saying.
Legal. I'm not saying that you should be forced to by law. I'm saying if you're not a selfish person, you would.
Oh.
What? No. What? Let me ask you a question. What benefit is it of somebody who's a child to live in a house that even if they love them, they can't feed them? Versus someone who maybe can and will love them just as much.
Well, if you quit getting rid of all the fucking social programs, a poor person can still feed their kid. This didn't happen until you started getting rid of all of the help that these people used to receive.
Wait a minute, that's a completely separate issue. You're pivoting.
You talked about having a child that you couldn't afford to feed. The point I'm making is if social programs are in place, there won't be
social programs. Depending on what they are, I'm not against social programs. I think that food stamps are okay. Although I do agree with Kennedy about saying you should have to pay your own money into like going soda, and that's from someone who has been actually on the streets. A lot of people like Denkel and Michael don't know what the hell they're talking about. They've never been on the streets. They've never known what it's like to actually steal food at some point in your life. Like, they've never known what it's like to overstay a visit in a hotel so that way you can sleep.
So what's the point? What point are you making?
Well, the point I'm making is that like food stamps do get abused, but I still think they should be there. I'm okay with social programs.
You're getting muffled. You must be on the.
I'm still. Oh, sorry about that. I was resting the phone's mic on my lap, but I still believe in social programs. So yeah. So if people can call me hypocrite all they want, I'm more than okay with saying if you really are down and out, we'll give you the tools to get yourself out of a bad situation. What I'm not for is people lying and saying the Department of Education does have the stuff that it doesn't do. It doesn't provide school lunches to most people, okay? Or at all, actually. It doesn't provide that at all. That's handled with other departments like DHS.
Yeah, but you admitted that the state school systems receive federal funding to cover other things they have expenses for. And what I'm saying is, if they use their money to cover school lunches and they're getting federal funding for maybe, to purchase desks and chairs or books or whatever, then they can use their money for food or something else. But if you start all of a sudden removing federal funding from them entirely, now they may only have enough money to cover books and not cover food. That's what I'm saying, is that even though the money may not be going specifically to food, it's freeing up their own money so that they can do that for the kids.
No. Okay, I'm just going to say this right now. First off, they don't need it. They don't need half that funding. They don't need
every school district in America don't need it.
Almost all government. First off, teachers unions take out a huge percentage of the money that these places get funded with. Okay. Secondly, a lot of these schools are just poorly run. They're poorly managed. There are schools out there that get more money than other schools that are like there are some ghetto schools that get more money every single year than the suburban schools, and they don't do nearly as well. Why? Because if you throw them money at an issue, that doesn't fix it, Tim.
Here's the problem, man. First of all, you're mentioning the unions take a bunch of the money. Teachers get for civil servant positions. Teachers are some of the lowest paid. And you're not going to get an increase from that by taking it from the federal government and going to the states. I don't hear any state bragging about, I can't wait till this is in our control so we can raise teacher salaries. Ain't none of them talking about doing it. I would love to raise teacher salaries, and I would also like to raise the standards so that way teachers don't touch children in their pee-pees anymore. But you're not the politician in charge. The ones that are in charge ain't talking the shit you're talking. None of them are talking about raising teacher salaries. I don't worship politicians. I'm not a lemming. I don't worship politicians. I may be MAGA, but I'm more than willing. Tim, you've heard me on the show before. I call Trump out whenever I feel he's not doing what I think he should be doing. But you believe he won the 2020 election, right? Oh, at 110%. Right, with no proof. With no proof of what? All of the shit he said, like switching votes from Democrats to Trump. All of that stuff he said. Switching votes from Trump to Biden. He got no proof of that. Oh, are you now pivoting to? No, I'm just simply saying you're making it sound like you hold Trump accountable when you really don't. You just buy a lot of things he says. You don't hold him accountable. If he says something, it is true with you. You don't need proof of what he says. You believe the Haitian migrants are eating cats and dogs too, right? That was a stupid statement that I've said on your program before. He shouldn't have said. Do you believe it was happening? Which should they? Oh, the cats and dogs? Yes. I don't know. I've seen a lot of conflicting information. That's the point I'm making. No, Tim. But he shouldn't say something he can't confirm. Because that's talking from ignorance. All right. It's almost like a lie in and of itself. I've never not held him accountable. Okay. I've always held him accountable. And Tim, I know you probably got to move it on a sec, right? In a minute. Go ahead. Finish your point. Okay, let me just say this, okay? I want to say something that he did get right, that you guys don't want to acknowledge, that you even said was a lie. It was transgender mice. It was transgender. No, it's not. It's transgender. Yes, it is. I can show you right now. I can absolutely show you right now. What are you about to show me?
I'm about to put in a URL in your comments. You ready?
I can't click on it while I'm actually on the show, but you can send it so somebody else can click on it. Okay, give me 1 second. Transgender mice. Oh my God. What are you going? What is this going to be? The Newsmax.com website? There was no transgender mice. I'm pretty sure I looked that up and found that not to be true, but I'll let them post the link. And if somebody want to look it up and tell me it's bullshit, feel free to do so. But we'll give him a quick second. Otherwise, I got to move the program on. Then he can't talk. Back. Okay, go ahead.
I put it in the comments.
All right. I'll have somebody will click on it and we'll talk about it as it goes on. But I do got to move it on. You know how we do.
Okay.
Appreciate it, Jeremy. Thank you for coming through. All right, moving on. Appreciate it. Moving on with the program. And Jeremy is a friend of the program. He comes on often. He leans right, obviously. We go left of Bernie Sanders, so I'm having dinner with Q. When we say free speech, we do mean that. So don't understand that nobody's politics are disqualified here. You can't have a right-wing, independent, or left-wing opinion. You can be critical of the host. You can be critical of anybody in the comment section without any concern of the host trying to block, ban, or censor you. That's how we do it here. A lot of folks right now, because I've become critical of Trump, a lot of my right-wing viewers tune out the show. It's a bunch of bullshit. I don't want to hear it anymore. I picked up the show. I started doing this about 4 years ago when I was heavily critical of Biden because of the economy, because of the border. And I had more MAGA viewers than I had liberals. And the liberals were calling me a sellout and Uncle Tom and all that bullshit. But as Biden started slowly but surely correcting a few things like the economy, and then Trump got in there. And of course, Trump says wild things that he can't prove. And I started becoming somewhat critical of some of the things Trump does. My audience shifted. And that's kind of how it is. If Trump starts doing a bunch of great shit and I give him credit for it, I'll probably lose a bunch of liberals and pick up MAGA. But I do believe in calling balls and strikes no matter who's pitching. A spade is a spade no matter who's dealing the cards. A lot of folks like echo chambers. They want people to say what they agree with only. You don't get that here. Aqua Funk, love the name, says, I have watched this channel for a minute but never commented. I just enjoy, but I gotta step out for this guy. He needs to get laid. And as a Latino, I can tell he identifies as white. Some of my last okay. Appreciate the input. Oh, wow. Because of Trump supporters, fine. Okay, apparently Wi-Fi went down for a minute. All right, we're back. Okay. How about the fact that dozens of countries in Africa no longer use the US dollar because we tried to force them to rainbow their children? I don't think the right cares about it, but I understand your point. I think Trump looks at things like, I got all the power and you either can get along or get lost. I think that's the way, like even with Canada and some of this stuff, what can they do about it? I got all the power. I got the strongest military. We're the wealthiest country. We control the banking industry. What you gonna do about it? I think it literally is the definition of bullying, but a lot of folks favor that. So we'll continue on. I just want to play this. Before I go to the next caller, and I'm gonna ask that you tap the screen, see if you can get me up to about 80,000. I know that's asking a bit much, but tap the screen, show your boy some love. 300, is it 300 plus a unit? We could get up to 80,000. Give me about a minute of tapping the screen. That should do it. I'm going to be hearing this clip for the first time because my last caller suggested that the transgender mice thing was somehow legit. I'm hearing this for the first time, but I want to hear it with you folks, and I'll certainly comment on it, but this is straight off of YouTube. So let's see what they have to say, because this is a local network affiliate. I don't know what city it's coming out of, but it's not like, a left-wing talking head or a right-wing talking head that you see on YouTube. This is a actual local news affiliate.
Has the government really spent $8 million on making mice transgender?
$8 million for making mice transgender.
Is it real? Here's some more context.
This is real.
The president made this claim during a joint address to the U.S. Congress on Tuesday, as he was speaking about the Department of Government Efficiency.
A group of very intelligent, mostly young people, headed up by Elon, and we appreciate it.
The president claimed that scientists are making mice transgender. The White House followed up on that claim, pushing out this release on Wednesday. It lists 6 government-funded health studies totaling around $8.3 million. We looked through all of them. Here is what we found. Scientists are not trying to make mice transgender. However, they are studying the impacts of hormone therapy, which can be used for gender-affirming healthcare. Look at this one, for example. Researchers at Indiana University are using $3.1 million in federal funds to study whether the estrogen hormone might contribute to a greater chance of asthma in women. This one, for $455,000, uses mice to study how certain hormone therapies may impact someone's immune response to an HIV vaccine. Another one examines how gender-affirming hormone therapy may impact someone's risk for breast cancer. 2 more look into the impact of hormone therapies, one on how testosterone may affect fertility, the other on the impact of...
I'm going to stop this for one quick second. There's only about another 30 seconds left of it, but I think there are some words that are trigger words, at least for the right in this particular environment. One word he's saying over and over again, gender affirming. That is a trigger word for the right, kind of like DEI. Gender affirming is now kind of synonymous with transgender. Now you hear him suggesting that gender affirming is going in all sorts of directions. But for the right, the minute they hear the word gender affirming, they're thinking transgender. And I think that is what triggered the whole notion that we're talking about transgender mice. I mean, you hear him talking about gender affirming, dealing with hormones for everything from breast cancer research and all this other stuff. The right didn't need to hear all of that. They heard gender affirming, and that was all they needed to hear.
We'll look into the impact of hormone therapies, one on how testosterone may affect fertility, the other on the impact to the gut microbiome. The last one, a $1.2 million NIH grant, uses transgenic mice, not transgender mice. And the study focuses on improving healthcare outcomes for LGBTQ plus patients. So with all of that said, is this...
Now, obviously, improving healthcare for LGBTQ plus patients is a no-no for the right, because they don't really want anything being done for that community. So that last part, to them, that's definitely waste, fraud, and abuse. Anything that's being done to address the healthcare or anything else about the transgender or the LG, it ain't got to just be trans. Any of the alphabet, the L, the G, the B, the T, all of that. So when he said that at the end, that's absolutely a no-no and ripe for the cutting, if you ask the right.
LGBTQ plus patients. So with all of that said, is this claim true?
$8 million for making mice transgender.
Many of the studies were looking into hormone therapies and their impacts on health outcomes. However, there is no evidence in any of the research or the reports that we looked into that suggests these studies were funded specifically to make mice transgender. In Cincinnati, Connor Steffen, WCPO 9 News.
Channel 9 Cincinnati is what that was from. So that's a local news affiliate. Looks like it is ABC News, WCPO down in Cincinnati. So that's the news outlet for that. But yeah, I think that anything tailored to the LGBTQ community, I don't care if you wanted to do a study on hate crimes against that community. The right does not want any acknowledgement in terms of federal funding to be dealing with that community. So even though his findings suggest it's not about transgender mice, there is some money in there that went to some LGBTQ studies that the right is not going to favor. But it does seem like the whole transgender mice, despite what my last caller was saying, is a bust. But I don't know if he posted the link in there. I would have loved to seen it. Looking in the comments though, transgenic means that one or more DNA sequences from another species have been introduced by artificial means. Yeah. And that ain't got nothing to do with transgender. Nothing to do with it at all. So, and this is why I said earlier in the program, while I'm not going to throw Elon under the bus, I need more proof that what he is finding is actually true and valid before celebrating. Because a lot of folks on the right are already celebrating how much money Elon is saving the government and saving us all. I've heard stories like this where Elon, a lot of the things they're saying is just turning out to be false or greatly exaggerated. So until I see the actual evidence to seek proof, I'm going to hold and reserve my opinion. I'm not going to be like MAGA where all you got to do is say it and that's good enough for me. That's no, you've said things that are not true already. Like, for instance, the whole topic of the show about Pete Hegseth. He has no credibility now. He jumped up and lied and said the leak about the war plans was false. He's been proven to be a liar at this point. So, like I said, just because it's coming from the Trump administration, as opposed to the Biden administration, does not mean it's always true. They've been only 2 months in, and they've been caught in several lies already. How about the Trump administration? Now, you can deflect to Biden and talk about, well, Biden lied about this or destroyed that or whatever the case may be. Maybe that's true, but that's not defending Trump. Pointing to lies from Biden does not defend lies from Trump. That's just suggesting, well, they both lie. Then that's not a defense for Trump. So I'm just simply saying Trump has been caught in lie. And I see somebody in the comments said, like Kamala Harris said she was black. Ha, ha, ha. Exactly. So what you're doing is going to lies from the previous administration. Fair enough. But you're not defending the current administration. That's all I'm pointing out. Anyway, looking in the comments, Tim, if they were testing transgender mice, how did the mice get transgender to begin with? Yeah, it's a whole, like I said, I don't know why, other than to play on people's hatred or concern with the transgender community. It's a good selling point. They're wasting our money on transgender mice. That would really piss a bunch of people off. But yeah, and the idea that Trump didn't look into this, just went out there and echoed it, it is concerning. Like, just like with the whole Haitian migrants, my last caller who supports Trump admitted he didn't fact check it. He just went on TV and started talking about they're eating cats and dogs. Fact check the stuff. We need to defend the mouse. All right, Maxwell, smart. Going back to the box, Queen. Good evening. Welcome to the program, Queen. How come no one is being arrested for fraud? Great point. You, sir, need more coffee? That's a great point. Which leads to the obvious question, is the fraud claims actually valid? You're finding waste, fraud, and abuse. Fraud is a crime. Where are all the criminals at? Where are all the charges pending? There's none there. So that's also a big issue, that it doesn't look like Elon and Trump are finding any fraud at all. You're claiming that people were receiving Social Security that are 150 years old. Who did you arrest? Where's the follow-up? I mean, okay, you stopped the checks from going, but obviously somebody's been fraudulently receiving checks claiming to be 150 years old. Who did the money go to? If you're adamant the money went out, there should be some arrest. You said there were thousands of people that were over 150 receiving Social Security checks. You didn't get one arrest out of that? That doesn't make sense. So there are questions to be asked. I'm going to say there's questions to be asked in regards to what they're saying. Just like he didn't know about the open conversations about the war plans. Yet Trump claims he didn't know that, which, once again, it is Trump's MO when think to let me switch over because my devices are indicating the Wi-Fi is acting flaky. Leadership. Well, I will say this. It's odd that they're talking about liberals, waste money and things like that when you do have something such as a 20-year war under George W. Bush, starting a 20-year war. So you're correct. There's plenty of fraud, or plenty of waste, rather. Let's stop using the term fraud, because until somebody's arrested, the whole fraudulent claims are apparently bullshit. But you got a 20-year unnecessary war under the Republicans with Iraq. So yeah, there's plenty of wasteful spending under the Republicans. I do agree with that. All the PPP fraud that happened, they're still investigating and putting out arrest warrants. I knew that was going to happen. When Biden signed an order to put out like 80-some thousand IRS agents that the right were going crazy over, and he extended the statute of limitations that allows an additional 10 years to prosecute fraudulent PPP loan recipients. I put two and two together then and said that was my opinion on it. It hasn't culminated to fact yet, but I do believe that was the goal of that. is to put all those extra IRS agents on the force to go after all of the folks who receive money that should not have legally received it. Now, Trump has fired a bunch of IRS agents, so I don't know if the same amount of manpower is there to go after the people. But I do believe that was what Biden was intending to do. He put 80-some thousand IRS agents on the job, and he extended the statute of limitations so they can come after you if you receive PPP loans, personal property protection, or whatever it stands for. If you receive money and you had no right to receive it, it's less than 10 years now. It's probably down to about 9 or 8. But they have up to 2032, something like that. They can still prosecute you for that up to about 2032. I don't know how things are going to work now that Trump has fired so much of the federal government, claiming that all of this stuff is wasteful. My humble opinion is that it's going to turn out eventually that we fired too many people. I do believe that in some of these organizations throughout the federal government, like the VA and some of these organizations, it's going to eventually turn out that, look, we need to rehire some people. This organization is not working efficiently. This organization is understaffed. I do believe that eventually that's going to come back. I don't see how in only 2 months, because everybody's saying that you shouldn't criticize the Trump administration. He's only been in office 2 months. Well, 2 months is a short period of time. Certainly to determine that thousands of people should not be employed. Elon did not do some type of proper analysis on who was wasteful. He just went through hence the whole chainsaw photo and just started firing people. So my guess is people got fired that should not have been fired. Departments got shrunk or downsized or completely cut that should not have. And that probably will come back to bite America. There probably will be areas where people are going to be talking about this particular area of the federal government has ceased to function due to lack of manpower. It's just not enough people here for this to function efficiently. You've cut too many people. I do believe that's going to happen. Looking in the comments, he has such a long way to go, and energy is going to be needed for him. He does have a long way to go. Tim needs to present a grant opportunity, monitor the mic. Tim needs to present a grant opportunity, monitor the make mice population. I don't know. I guess there's some sarcasm in what you're trying to say, but it's lost in the sauce. Real quick before I continue on, don't know what I hit there. Did I miss a super chat? Apparently not. Just when you thought this guy finally got red pilled, he runs right back to the plantation. Explain how that is working. Explain how I'm running back to the plantation. I'd like to know. I'll continue on with the program. One of my subscribers, we always get them first digs. Mike, appreciate your holding. Good evening.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good.
It's been a rough evening, man. It's been a rough evening.
I know. I'm laughing at. Listen, this how stupid and ignorant, and I'm going right at Jeremy's neck. He sends the link as proof, and when you read the link, and I used the link he sent, and first of all, I read the study before. They always misappropriate shit to fit a narrative. That is not what the article is saying. It's talking about therapy. It's talking about. There's so many different things they're trying to do with this study. What happens when people begin their T therapy and when they come off of it, and if they want to eventually have children, how does it impact their reproductive systems and their menstrual cycle? There's all these things. It's not about it's not turning Mickey into Minnie. It's stupid.
Yeah.
The thing about it is disingenuous.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, even if it's anything to do with the transgender community, I don't care if it's even, making sure that, hormone therapy doesn't give you cancer. They don't want you to take this shit. So they don't want any study done that shows effects. They don't want anything done that's in relations to the LGBTQ community. Anything that is done, any study that is done with federal funding that addresses that community is wasteful to them because they don't like that community.
I understand, but presenting it the way they're presenting it is fear mongering. Presenting it the way that they're presenting it is it's feeding into this narrative that you're trying to indoctrinate children, and that's not it. That is lying. That's propaganda, and it's fear mongering. Period.
I don't disagree.
And I told Jeremy in the comment, and I told Jeremy maybe he would have read different if he read it outside of being up Trump's ass, because the lighting is different out here. It's just more light out here.
The lighting is different than in Trump's ass.
And yes, Jeremy, I did read the study, you idiot, you buffoon, and you sent it in the comments, dumb. It's just so stupid. And Tim played a clip where the guy, that same reporter.
Yeah, I was just about to say what you read and the way you're interpreting it sound exactly like this reporter suggesting that money went to all sorts of different things.
It went to all different types of studies, but they're trying to scare people. Nobody's trying to you know what's so funny, Tim, about this indoctrination when we talk about the transgender community? It's funny how we focused on that, about how that's going to somehow shape kids' identity and what they might want to do or be. But we don't say anything about all these violent movies. We don't say anything about all these violent video games. So if we're saying that content or things are going to shape the way they see things, don't you think that some of these video games, Grand Theft Auto, shapes the way they think?
I've said before, it's not about the kids, in my opinion. If you really think that a child that has access to an LGBTQ member might be influenced to actually be a member of the LGBT community, but you can take your kid to the range and give him it and let him fire a firearm at targets that look like a human being, and that won't inspire them to murder anybody, then you're being biased. I mean, you literally are letting your child fire at a target that looks like a human on a piece of paper or whatever, and that don't inspire them to do anything. But hanging around a gay dude, yeah, that's going to turn them gay. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. It just fits their narrative, and it's dangerous because what happens is when people are radicalized in anything, they take extreme measures to those people that they've been radicalized against. If you look at the rates of people in the transgender community being harmed, they are astronomical in terms of what they think they're trying to prevent. Yeah. It's not even close. And in the study, Tim, that he sent, just so you know, idiot, man, he's such an idiot, because you can send stuff to defeat your own argument in 1,000 different ways because he didn't read it at all. Because it says in this article about the community, 0.6 of the population, 1.4 million adults in the United States self-identify
as trans.
As transgender, compromising of 0.6 of the population. And it says, now check this out. It says, however, the true number may be higher in the data collection, meaning people are fearful of expressing.
Mike, you got a weak signal, Mike.
Their identity.
Yeah, Mike.
Because of the stigma.
Your signal's going in and out.
Did you hear it now? That was weird.
Yeah, I heard you say something.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, your signal's going in and out. Mike, I'm gonna have to drop you because you're not steady. But yeah, I do agree with him that it is likely the number is higher than 0.6% of the population, because as he was alluding to, it ain't always safe to come out as trans. It's just not. I mean, to me, the worst thing the transgender community could have tried to do, unfortunately, is try to get recognition. If you're a transgender woman and you need to use the female bathroom, just go use it. No, I mean, they often say it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. They're not going to give you permission to do that. Like, let's take someone like Dylan Mulvaney, the one that was on the can of Bud Light. Somebody like that could use any female bathroom in existence. And that person looks like a woman. You would never know Dylan Mulvaney, the one that was on the transgender, the one that they were shooting up, Kid Rock was shooting up cans of Bud Light and all of that. Dylan Mulvaney looks like a woman. Most folks tend to think, at least on the right, when they're talking about this stuff, I don't want a trans man going in a girl's bathroom and all this shit. They tend to think that a transgender person is going to look like my ugly ass with a wig on. You know, I'm 6'6", 300 pounds. You put a wig on me, yeah, it's gonna be obvious that I'm a man. I mean, it's just gonna be 100% obvious I'm still a dude. But there's a lot of transgender folks you can't tell that. I mean, a lot of guys with feminine persona, feminine. You know, they don't look masculine. You would never be able to tell. I was trying to see if I could bring up a photo of that's a photo right there of the person that was on the Bud Light person. That's Dylan Mulvaney on my screen there behind. You would never know that was a dude. Never. I mean, the chin is round, the chin is soft. There's no hard brow, no caveman type brow. This was a male with probably with feminine features as a man. I mean, there are a lot of men that have some feminine features. Just like there's a lot of women that have facial hair and I mean, there are some women that like, damn, what is that? You know, remember the whole thing with shoes. What are those? There are people you can look at like, what is that? So there's no way in hell that this person is going to walk in the bathroom with you, and you're going to know that that's a guy. Because fact is, how often if somebody walk in the bathroom with you, do you really just sit there and stare them in the face like you're the pervert? Most of the time when you're in the restroom, you're in there to handle your business. You may go wash your hands and look at yourself in the mirror, and you walk out. You're not sitting there and giving everybody the once over and all of that shit. You're just not there doing that. Otherwise, you look like the pedo or you look like the pervert. Why the hell are you staring at everybody that come walk up in here? So it's just not gonna happen. This person would go in the bathroom. Even if you were looking at them, you're going to see them from the time they enter the bathroom to the time they go in the stall. So you get maybe 3 seconds of a glance, and at that point, the stall is closed. This person is in a girl's bathroom. There's no urinals, so this person is going to go in the stall and close the door. You got a chance to see them for 2 or 3 seconds. There's no way in hell you're going to be looking at this person saying that's a man. That's a mission. How many of us have enough time out in our day to be doing all of that? So I really think that to me, a lot of this is something over nothing. Now, the Bruce Jenner person, that's more likely what people expect when you're talking about transgender. Somebody that is very unattractive, that does look more like a man. Bruce, Caitlyn Jenner, whatever the case may be. And oddly enough, just before I continue on with the program, Caitlyn Jenner voted for Trump. Caitlyn Jenner, when he went from Bruce Jenner to Caitlyn Jenner, was very much welcomed by the LGBTQ community. They welcomed Caitlyn, welcomed the transition on the front of magazine covers, ugly as hell. The ugliest person to appear on the cover, yet they put him on the cover and everything. And he voted for an administration that would basically outlaw the whole damn magazine. That makes no sense at all to me. How someone from the transgender community would vote for Trump. Now, we can talk about the economy and a whole bunch of other things that maybe you favor that Trump has done. But he definitely is not favorable to the transgender community. If you're transgender, unless you're voting for some other, if you're voting for the transgender equality or even recognition, it makes no sense at all to vote for Trump. He's certainly not trying to do that whatsoever. But anyway, real quick, here is also a picture of that same person. It don't shrunk, but Dylan Mulvaney or whatever. That's another picture of him as a blonde. Definitely a feminine physique, very feminine physique, no muscular tone at all. That person would definitely pass as a woman. Definitely would pass as a woman. Anyway, looking in the comments, in the bathroom setting at least. I mean, I guess if you had 10 minutes to really look at the person, maybe if you got really, a lot of time to really sit there and scrutinize. But if you got 3-4 seconds to look at this person in the bathroom, they're going to pass all day, every day. Sounds like a Republican voting against herself. Well, definitely Caitlyn Jenner voted against self-interest. Definitely did that. Because Caitlyn Jenner clearly wants to identify as a woman, And Trump has already stated he only recognizes two genders, and that is by the gender you had on your birth certificate. So according to Trump, Caitlyn Jenner is going to be walking around with a driver's license that says male on it. Taxes, everything about Caitlyn Jenner is going to say male because Trump has already stated you have to go by the gender on your birth certificate. Why would Caitlyn vote for Trump? No, makes absolutely no sense at all. No sense at all. And I'm assuming that all of the love and adoration the transgender community gave Caitlyn when Caitlyn came out, that's all gone at this point. They don't. Caitlyn Jenner is not allowed to any pride meeting at all. I mean, you stay over there. I took transgender studies in college, and that's a him being a her, just a swinging. That makes no sense at all. You took transgender studies in college, and your assertion is that's just a him being a her. That is not something you would ever be taught in a college transgender study class, if there even is such a thing. Why does the hospital not accept your preferred gender? Because you haven't came out yet. Yes. The hospital's going by visuals. That's it. The hospital's going by, does this kid have a vagina? Does this kid have a penis? That's it. They're not going by how you feel. They're going by what they see. They're going by, as the liberals say, trust the science. The science says this is a boy. The science says this is a girl. So this is where the liberals kind of break off from trust the science. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. It's all in the mind. They can help feeding that way. I don't know what you mean by that, Archangel. Why can't liberals understand that one perfectly logical point? I don't know. Listen, for me, I don't have a problem with the transgender community. I don't believe in hatred towards them. I don't favor assuming that they're all going to be abusing kids and all this other shit the right makes up. The only part I agree with the right on is that I don't believe a biological male should be able to play sports with girls. But I say this all the time when we talk about this on the program. It's such a minuscule issue that I don't think it should be getting anywhere near the attention that it's getting. As I mentioned earlier in the program, I would rather Trump prove the 2020 election was fraudulent than fucking with this shit because it doesn't affect anybody. Trump has passed a law, executive order, that they only recognize two genders, male and female. They don't allow you to transition, at least in the eyes of government. A lot of folks on the right, great, that's a good thing. That doesn't affect anybody, though. Most Republicans don't have anybody transgender in their family any damn way. Proving the election was stolen, which would show that a hell of a lot of Republican voters got cheated in 2020 and have Biden's whole presidency marked down as a fraud, that would affect lots of people. Work on shit that matters, is my opinion. This transgender stuff is, my opinion, is being done simply out of hatred toward that community. That's all I see. There's been transgender Americans for years. They don't have no huge instance of going in public bathrooms and assaulting children. In fact, I don't even believe the straight community that abuses children, the ones who appear on Chris Hansen, Meet a Predator type shows. Nobody does this in bathrooms. Why would you go to one of the most public places to commit a heinous crime like that? Even if you were going to try to take the innocence of a child, that's not where you're going to do that at. Where somebody could walk in and now you're going to get the shit beat out of you. You're going to go to a crowded movie theater or a shopping mall, and this is where you're going to do that at? A place where dozens of strangers are walking in and out every minute or two? It's just not happening there. So I don't know why people keep saying I don't want this person to go in the bathroom with a kid because this can happen. It's not going to happen there. I mean, there's a lot of folks in this country that have been caught abusing children. How often do you hear about it happening in the bathroom? That's just not the place it's going to happen, no matter who does it. Look at it. We see it as used as deviance, not necessarily the true. I don't. Like I said, to me, There's a whole lot more people that are harmful to your children. If this is really about protecting kids, how many teachers, straight teachers, abuse their kids? You hear about children sleeping with female teachers, male teachers all the time. There are some cops that have been known to abuse children, Boy Scout leaders, Little League coaches, pastors, priests. All of the groups I just named have a much greater, lengthier, documented history of abusing kids than the LGBTQ community. All of them do. You want to keep your kids from teachers? You want to keep your kids away from priests and pastors? They all do it way more than the transgender community. It's not about protecting kids from them. It's about hating them. It's about hating them. Because if you were about protecting kids, then you would actually be ostracizing all of the groups that I just named that have a lot more history of abusing kids. It's not about protecting kids. It's about the hatred to that community, and we're using kids as a justification of why we hate them. Looking in the comments, though, the fact of the matter is crime of opportunity. Why does a serial killer kill in broad daylight? Well, if you're going to say that it's a crime of opportunity, there's a lot of abusers that have used public bathrooms. This is not the place they take the opportunity. It's just, I get the point you're trying to make is this a crime of opportunity. There's been transgender Americans in this country for years. The opportunity just popped up when Trump got elected. If they were going to abuse children, you would have heard. Have you even heard of cases of men that are not transgender simply taking the opportunity to dress up as a girl and go in the bathroom and abuse a child? You don't even hear this stuff. It's not like the transgender community was just created in 2025. Anything we're accusing them of potentially doing in the future, they had the ability to do it in the past already. Why haven't they done this stuff? If this is what they may be headed to, they could have been done this stuff if that's what they were trying to do. It's about hatred. It ain't about nothing more than that. You should be able to come up with all sorts of cases of men dressing up as females and going in bathrooms and abusing kids. It has not happened. You don't hear cases at all of transgender committing acts of sexual prowess against kids. It just does not happen. It's just solid hatred being masked as something else. Disgusting, in my opinion. And by the way, there are other countries that transgender exist in as well. Are there cases of it happening there where children are being abused by these people? Where on earth do they have a huge instance? Europe is friendly. There are European countries that are friendly to the transgender community. Where is it happening where kids are being abused by them? Because all the other groups I named are they're harming kids even in those countries. Teachers, cops, Boy Scout leaders, Girl Scout leaders, pastors, religious folks, they're all abusing kids, even in other countries. Where are transgender folks harming children? It's not happening. So the pretending that it will happen is fabricated out of nothing. Ron Sosi, appreciate the hat mustache. Thank you. Facts and logic is way off. Endless amount of cases of just what you claim doesn't happen. Simple search will show you all them convicted. I don't listen. I've actually went looking for the shit you're talking about that exists. It's just not there. It's not there. I really believe that if the transgender community had a history of abusing children, you wouldn't have to research it. The right would present it to you. Just like any time an illegal immigrant harms an American, the right gives you that. You don't have to go and look it up. They tell you who did it. I've never heard of men dressing up as women to go in a bathroom and abuse a kid. Keep in mind, most kids that go to the bathroom, if they're that young, their parents are right outside waiting on them. This is just not the place you're going to go to do some shit like that. It makes no sense. Which is why you don't hear kids being abused by anybody in public bathrooms. This is not the place to do that. Too many other people are walking in bathrooms for you to do something crazy like that. just when you think about priests, teachers, literally coaches, they all take the child somewhere alone to do that. You don't go to a public place and do nothing stupid like. I mean, that ain't to me. That's not even worth arguing. It's so stupid. They're not even outside. They're in the bathroom with them, Tim. Yeah, they're in a bathroom where people can walk in at any given time. Other people, strangers that can walk in and see this happening. That ain't the. If you're gonna commit a major felony like that, that ain't the place to do that. That's just not the place anybody's going to choose to do that. There's too many other places you could probably find and do something heinous. You're not going to do it in a public bathroom. You're next level stupid. I got sexually assaulted in front of 4 people. Now, it sounds like you might have got sexually assaulted by 4 people. If they stood there and watched it, Chris says, you're next level stupid. I got sexually assaulted in front of 4 people. What were the people doing while you were getting banged, Chris Patlis or whatever your name is? That's like saying, George Floyd lost his life to Derek Chauvin. He got basically murdered in front of 3 other cops. No, those other cops are bad too. If they're sitting there watching that happen to you, if you're sitting there getting sexually assaulted in front of 4 other people, it sounds like they in on it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Somebody in the comments said waiting for a turn. Yeah, that's what it sounded like. You didn't get sexually assaulted in front of 4 people. Sound like you should have been yelling choo-choo. He only stopped when he heard a male voice. God, this is getting dark. Let me stop this shit. This is getting fucking dark. Yeah, we got sexually assaulted in front of 4 people, right? Yeah, it feels bad. Yeah, let's feel bad for the dude on drugs and a lifelong criminal career. You either don't have kids or you don't know your kids. Well, I'll tell you this: if I do have kids, if my child got sexually assaulted in front of 4 other people, I'm just as pissed off at them as I am the person that's doing it. To me, you're all I don't care if they're other kids, unless they felt their life is in danger or something like that. But if it's 4 other adults sitting there watching, whatever justice I want meted out to the person that was doing it, I want the people that were spectating to get it too. I want if it goes to a pew pew response, they should be pew pewed as well if they're sitting there watching that shit. It's a crime to watch that. If you see that online, if you see something, it's a crime to look at children being abused. You're watching it live. So yeah, it didn't happen in front of 4, but they were in on that shit. Don't be insensitive. The guy started out by calling me an idiot and then throwing some shit like that. So you say don't be insensitive. Don't be a bully, my guy. Don't be a bully. You voted for Trump and you don't like bullies. Kids get what does that says? Kids get ratted in bathrooms. Get ratted? Is that what you said? Rated in bathrooms. I guess you mean raped. Okay, kids get assaulted in bathrooms, bathhouses all the time. Watch the local news, not just Fox or CNN. I do watch the local news. I don't hear about transgender folks assaulting kids. I just don't hear about it. Transgender people have been around a long time. They don't have a history of assaulting kids. It's not happening. And by the way, you could get rid of every transgender person on earth. That wouldn't stop if a person really wants to assault a child in the bathroom, that wouldn't stop a straight man from dressing up as a woman and doing it. The people that are asking you for permission to use women's bathrooms are not the ones that's going to do it. The people that's going to do something like that are not going to be among the crowd politely asking you for permission to use the women's bathroom. So you're blaming it on the wrong community. The people that's going to do that shit, they're not going to be about the whole, well, we identify as a woman. Do you mind if we start using the female's bathroom? Them ain't the ones that's going to do that. The ones that's going to do it are the ones that are not going to say shit to you until you put handcuffs on them, asking them, why are you in here doing that? Them are dudes, real dudes, genuine dudes that walk around looking like dudes in their everyday life. To me, it just sounds like hate. That's all I'm hearing. I don't want to see a female penis. Let me just say this, and this is to mostly
sometime after On the Record ended,
my male audience that may be watching in regards to this whole transgender debate. And I see in the comments, one of my viewers said, I don't want to see a female penis. How often, talking to men, when you go to the bathroom, how often do you see a penis? Now, understand that 99.99999% of the time when you use a public bathroom, everybody in that bathroom has a dick. How often do you see it? How often do you see it? With your gay ass. How often are you seeing dicks in the bathroom? So the whole idea that you don't want to see a female penis, why are you looking at it? It takes special, you literally got to go looking for that. Everybody when you're in the public bathroom got a dick, and you don't see any of them. It's crazy. You guys come up with this shit. Oh my God. Don't you like protecting your women, Tim? I don't think women are in danger from the transgender community. I just don't. I think the right is made. When you think about how many female athletes are in this country, NCAA, playing high school sports, playing sports in elementary, playing sports at the professional level. How many women have ever been up against a biological male that is transitioned to a woman? It's not an issue. But the right is making it sound like you got to get rid of these transgender people because women are losing rights. Women are, it's not, most women most women athletes have never had this type of issue come up in their entire athletic career. It's just not happening. The right is making this stuff. And I see in the comments, King Business says all it takes is one occurrence. Here's what I don't get. Every time you see a controversial police video, 99% of officers are good. Every time. They just want to go home to their families. Every time. You never hear someone look at a controversial police video and say, well, all it takes is one occurrence. One is too many. You got videos of police shooting people in the back, running away, sitting on people's necks until they're lifeless. What happened to all it takes is one occurrence? But when it's the transgender community, there are far more videos of bad cops than bad transgender people. I'm talking like you would literally have to use the little exponent symbol you used in math class just to denote all the multiples, to whatever power. In terms of how many police videos compared to how many bad characters among the transgender community, you would have to use exponents to make the math work. And yet we're still saying 99% of cops are good, but all it takes is one bad transgender. No hate in that at all. No hate. Can you imagine being at the scene of an airplane crash where you done lost a relative? And the NTSB tells you, 99% of these things make it safely to their destination. And you're looking at parts of your relative in pieces on the ground and you're talking about some 99% bullshit. We pick and choose when one is too many, huh? Okay. One bad apple, huh? Yeah, all right. Appreciate your video, says Lisa. Thank you. This has not one thing to do with trans people who are being used by useful idiots. The trans people are being hated. It's as simple as that. There's hatred. By the way, using children as a reason to justify hate is very common. Before it was a transgender community, they were saying the same thing. If a kid has two mommies or two daddies, they're going to be mentally off. They were using this excuse. And by the way, thank you for that, Ron. Appreciate the hat there. Thank you for the support. They were saying the same thing about the gay community when they were trying to prevent same-sex marriage from being legalized. It affects kids. They even said the same thing about interracial marriage back in the 60s when they were trying to prevent interracial marriage from taking place. If a child has a white mommy and a black daddy or something like that, the child's going to have an identity crisis. Using children as a reason to justify hate goes way back. Way back. But right now, the transgender community is the one that's in the spotlight, but it goes way back. Real quick, looking in the comments, they use kids all the time. Yeah. I mean, like I said, you notice they're claiming that kids would be in danger without really bringing up any true cases of how kids were harmed. They're not. They're not showing you a bunch of cases where kids were harmed. When I talk about kids being wronged by the police, by their elementary school teacher, their high school teacher, their little league coach, you can find tons of cases of that. Tons of kids. That happens for real. I mean, I was talking about a story the other day of an elementary school teacher that actually was buying gifts to let her students run a train on her. High school students run a train on her. You don't see no shit like that in the LGBTQ community. You don't see stuff like that. You see plenty of it in those other communities, in the religious community. And oddly enough, the religious community is one of the biggest opponents of the trans community. Yet the stuff they're accusing the trans community of, they have a documented history going back probably more than a century of doing it. Mormons were marrying 14-year-olds. You don't see no shit like that from the transgender community. So I don't know. Like I said, to me, it's hate. But you act like Republicans are okay with that. They ain't saying nothing about it. Republicans would definitely favor keeping your kids from the trans community and putting them in church. Makes no sense to me. You want to keep your kids away from the trans community, not have them taught stuff about the LGBTQ community, but you're okay with putting them in church and having religion in schools. When religion has a great, significant history of abusing kids. It makes no sense to me. So when you say that you pretending like the Republicans are okay with it, they don't criticize the religious community for their documented history of abusing kids. They don't say nothing about it at all. So yeah, to some degree, he finally read one of my. Okay, I don't mind reading. You lose the argument because it can't be won, Tim. Yeah, okay. Well, you have your opinion, but it's based on hate. You can, if the argument is lost, then let's just go with that. Let your gay love go, Tim. So you're telling me that I have gay love and I should let it go. So what do you have then? If you don't have gay love, what's the opposite of love? I think you just kind of played yourself with that comment, huh? Criticizing my gay love. All right, we know what the opposite of love is. Tim, would you ever date a transgender man since you said we hate them so much? No, I would not date a transgender man. No. There's a difference between not having a sexual preference for somebody and trying to fuck up their life. Big difference. Big difference. I mean, I wouldn't date a 600-pound woman, but that don't mean I believe that she should be ostracized and accused of being a pedophile. It's a big difference. But it was a nice try. Yeah, let's follow our laws when it comes to deporting illegals when they didn't follow our laws to get in. I'm okay with deporting somebody that's in the country illegally. But once again, just like we're talking about the transgender community, I'm not a fan of making up bullshit that the person didn't do. If a person entered the country illegally, they're an illegal immigrant. That doesn't make them a rapist or a murderer. I don't like making up shit. They're not eating pets. Just making up stuff to strengthen your case against that person. That's what's happening, at least from Trump on the right. Just making up shit. Just call him what he is. He's in the country illegal. If you don't like if you don't want to soften the term up and say undocumented immigrant, you want to call him an illegal alien or whatever, go with that. But don't just skip up and start indicating that they're here to rape and murder people or they're part of MS-13, all this other stuff. Just call them what they... Same thing with the whole DEI shit. You become president, you want to put people in power that fit your agenda. You don't want the Biden administration in power when you're running a right-wing agenda. That makes sense. Trump has a different plan for America than Biden did. So naturally, you're going to fire some people that may have served while Biden was in office. That's all you got to say. You don't start saying that everybody is DEI and they don't have merit and shit. Just making up shit. Getting rid of generals and stuff like that that have committed their whole lives to serving this country. Just making up lies about the people. That's what I'm saying I disagree with. All of these folks that are being fired for DEI with absolutely no proof that they lack merit. They just happen to be a person of color or gay or a woman. But you said they don't have merit. Show us how they lack merit. Nothing. Nothing at all. So I'm okay with some of the things you guys are saying. I just don't believe in making up lies on people just to demonize them. And I do believe that that's certainly happening with President Trump, suggesting that everybody's a rapist and murderer, or they're eating pets, or they're going to abuse kids. But this is what I said at the beginning of the live. I'm willing to give Trump credit where he deserves it, but I believe in proof first. And he said a lot of stuff with no evidence, saying a whole lot of stuff with no evidence, and the right is just buying it. So looking in the comments, very few were qualified. I haven't seen anyone that Trump fired claiming DEI that were actually not qualified. I haven't seen it. And I haven't seen him prove it. I mean, he got rid of a 4-star general that was an African American. He got rid of the head of the Coast Guard, which was a female. He didn't show that the person was lacking merit at all. He just said this person is DEI, and the right was okay with that. And they just assumed this person lacked merit. The right doesn't need proof if Trump says something. Him saying it is all that's necessary. I'm not in that camp. I believe that if you're going to say something, at least show us evidence of what you're saying is valid. It's simple, Tim. Women who can't afford a kid should keep their legs closed until they can afford it. True, by the way. I'm not going to disagree with that. He said it's simple. Women who cannot afford a kid should keep their legs closed until they can afford it. True. But we're not a perfect society. We're just not. I mean, so what happens if a woman has a kid that she couldn't afford? Or what happens if she, because obviously you're saying a woman should keep her legs closed, so that means she shouldn't use protection. That means she should just abstain from sex completely until she can afford a kid. Shit, I mean, if American women took your advice, the elderly population would have a major problem. There would not be enough offspring to replace the ones that are dying off and to take care of the elderly with Social Security and things like that. If everybody was that responsible before they created a kid, it would not be enough children in this country to ensure essentially Americans continue. I mean, it just would not be. You think replacement theory is already an issue? Imagine if everybody was that responsible, where they made sure that they had enough money to afford a kid before they started having sex. A lot of cases, you can't really afford to have children until you're in your late 20s or early 30s. At that point, it's already a high-risk pregnancy in some cases. So now people are having 1-2 kids at the most. That would cause a problem in terms of creating new offspring to replace the ones that are being that are dying off. And you certainly wouldn't have anybody to do those black jobs, because now you're talking about every kid is being born in a middle class family. No kids are being born to impoverished families at all. So you're gonna have to pay better wages and shit like that. Not going to happen, though. I mean, that's a very high level of responsibility, and I don't think any society is going to do that. But I'm not saying he's totally wrong on it, but I just think that it's wishful thinking. What Social Security we have 10 years left? Do we even have that with them cutting every damn thing? This guy's brain is as lost as his eyes. Okay, fair enough. China tried to control the population and they overcorrected. They then faced a situation with jobs not being filled after. I tell you something, when I left Australia in 2009, $5,000 is what they were paying their citizens to have children. They would actually give you $5,000. That ain't much to have a kid, even in 2009 dollars. But it does show there was a problem. Now, also, Australia has a lot more entitlements if you have a child than America does. But they were literally paying Australians rather, to have kids because they didn't have enough people. They were doing what my viewers say: you be responsible. Wait before you have kids. Well, the output is you're not going to have a lot of kids coming up, and that your country needs that. You need those young, you need those young bodies in the military and shit like that. You're not going to have that if you start doing, you start increasing the likelihood that kids are all coming from middle class families because you wanted them to have money before they had the kid. A lot of them ain't going to join the military. A lot of folks join the military to get them out of poverty. Well, they follow your message. They weren't born into poverty. So you're going to have problems in the military as well when they reach 17 because a lot of them ain't going to want to join. We are not losing money. We're not losing Social Security in 10 years. We will go from 100% benefits to about 90. I don't know what to say on that. I just know a lot of folks feel threatened. Look, I'll just say it this way. When Trump and Elon are cutting so much federal shit, I think it would be short-sighted to automatically assume that Social Security won't be touched. Certainly when you got Elon Musk stating that Social Security is a Ponzi scheme, everything that Elon Musk has claimed is fraudulent or wasteful, he's done something to it. He's indicated there's waste at the Social Security Administration. So I don't know if he's going to cut the Social Security checks that people are expecting, but he's going to do something over there. I think he's already laid off a bunch of people. So I don't feel confident that they're not going to touch Social Security at this point. They've touched virtually everything. Why would they skip over that? I don't feel confident about that. It's only been 2 months. There's no way I would ever say I feel confident that over the next 3.5 years, it's guaranteed they're not going to touch that. No way I could say that. They just revealed the government was funding trans monkeys a week ago. What are your thoughts on that? I don't know if I even believe it, first of all, after what happened with the transgender mice turning into a bust. I'd have to hear more on it. Why would they just fund transgender monkeys? I'd have to hear more on it. I will tell you one thing. If you believe the transgender community is mentally ill, that's something you hear from the right all the time. And, thinking you're the wrong gender, something must be wrong upstairs. If you believe that, what would be wrong with funding a study, let's say on monkeys or whatever else you want to fund it on, to determine what causes a person to think they're in the wrong gender? I mean, if once you diagnose it as a mental illness, then you need to treat it. This is the whole notion of a politician suggesting that Trump derangement syndrome should be considered as a mental illness. Okay, well, once you do that, what are you going to do to treat it? You can't just leave it out there. So, yeah, if you're going to say it's a mental illness, okay, then what's your treatment plan for it? If you know Americans are falling ill to this particular illness, then what are you doing about it? So they can't do that. That's why Trump derangement syndrome will never be denoted as a mental illness, because whatever symptoms people of Trump derangement syndrome have, chances are Trump has them too, known as Biden derangement syndrome. If you describe what Trump derangement syndrome is, Trump has that syndrome towards other people that he don't like. So they'll never be able to denote it as a mental illness. B Gross, somebody typing over and over again that Dylan Mulvaney can have babies. I don't know how old Dylan is. I don't know enough about. He's a man, first of all. So you really want that read? Or you typed it a million times. You all keep saying transgenic mice, ha ha ha, like they just read it wrong. Well, I played the news story. The transgender mice thing is wrong. That is not true. I played the clip a moment ago. I don't know, some of you folks probably were not tuned in, but the clip clearly says,
Has the government really $8 million on making mice transgender.
$8 million for making mice transgender.
Is it real? Here's some more context.
This is real.
The president made this claim during a joint address to the U.S. Congress on Tuesday as he was speaking about the Department of Government Efficiency.
A group of very intelligent, mostly young people, headed up by Elon, and we appreciate it.
The president claimed that scientists are making mice transgender. The White House followed up on that claim, pushing out this release on Wednesday. It lists 6 government-funded health studies totaling around $8.3 million. We looked through all of them. Here is what we found. Scientists are not trying to make mice transgender. However, they are studying the impacts of hormone therapy, which can be used for gender-affirming healthcare. Look at this one, for example. Researchers at Indiana University are using $3.1 million in federal funds to study whether the estrogen hormone might contribute to a greater chance of asthma in women. This one, for $455,000, uses mice to study how certain hormone therapies may impact someone's immune response to an HIV vaccine. Another one examines how gender-affirming hormone therapy may impact someone's risk for breast cancer.
This is what the point is. This when Trump stated the millions of dollars that were going to transgender mice, I like what this reporter did. Is they took the money that the amount he claimed, and they broke it down to show that money was going to a bunch of different things. It ain't going to just one particular outfit. Trump basically took the trigger words he knew would trigger MAGA and pissed him off. And it worked. And he's still using it, by the way, despite it being clearly fact-checked and proven false. He's still using it. And I understand why he would use it. He's really good at manipulating the media to his own effect. He does exactly what he claims CNN and MSNBC and all these other networks do. He delivers fake news to his benefit. So I understand why he's doing it, but it's been proven that it's not true. So, but like I said, if you're MAGA, if you support Trump, he doesn't really need proof to anything he's saying. Whatever he tells you is kind of good to go. Like the whole Obama birther thing. They don't need proof of any of this shit. If he says it, it is good. I'm okay with giving him credit for saying things that are true, but I need to see proof first, because a lot of things he says turn out to not be true. And I do believe this is one of them. Anyway, as I always state, I do appreciate you folks tuning in. 83,000 on the likes. All right, I didn't solicit it enough. We should have had about 100,000, but for you TikTok viewers, thank you for tapping the screen. His base see the sky red if he tells them. Yeah. I mean, I do believe that if Trump can say some pretty wild shit and MAGA will just believe it. I do believe that. I've seen evidence of that. Like I said, Elon Musk finding waste, fraud, and abuse. If he's doing that, that's great for the country. But I need to see proof. I'm not just going to accept what Elon Musk is saying like the right is doing. This is what can happen. This transgender mice type shit is what can happen when you just blindly accept everything he's saying is true. Tim, can you ask your black racist viewers what they think about the women in Allentown who faked a hate crime by making her own noose to try and set up her coworker? Black Karens are real, Sheldon Walsh. If she did that, and I think I heard that story, she should be prosecuted. Just like, what was the guy, Jesse Smollett? Should be prosecuted. It's essentially the same version. You know, this is what Karens have been doing for years, making up stories that, you know, a person is going to, you know, commit a crime, or you know, a black man is coming to rape them. This is what they've been doing. So if doing it on the other side doesn't make it any less wrong. It's a black Karen, in my opinion. Noose and all this other shit. Just like you see some of these women, these Karens that are saying all kinds of awful shit. This is a gated community. You don't belong in here. When the black man steps up, they start screaming and crying. He's about to assault and beat me. Let me call the cops. Same shit. So I'm not going to defend it. What you're talking about sounds like a black Karen. Stop playing the local new false fact check, Tim. I don't know what you're going with that. White supremacy is so prevalent that people have to make up hate crimes to make it seem like an issue. Well, hate crimes and white supremacy are not synonymous with each other. You can be a white supremacist that has never broken a law. So you say you're trying to say that white supremacy is so prevalent that people have to make up hate crimes to make it seem like an issue, suggesting that if white supremacy was really a thing, there should be hate crimes. You don't. I mean, most of our presidents throughout history have been white supremacists. They weren't going around beating black people. So you don't need to perpetrate a hate crime to be a supremacist. Being a supremacist is in your head. You can vote for supremacist ideas. You can change laws to support supremacy. You don't need to be perpetrating hate crimes to be a white supremacist, a black supremacist, or whatever hell you want to call it. So those things are not synonymous with each other. Really, my family is half black, and we are all Republican. Such sheep herding bullshit. Okay. It's reasons to vote Republican. I said that every live. There's a lot of reasons to vote for Trump. There's a lot of reasons to vote against Trump. There are reasons to vote for Kamala Harris. There are reasons to vote against Kamala Harris. Depends on your politics. Make sure I didn't miss anything before I ended up wrapping it up. Times are so hard. All people from different lifestyles are doing crimes. It's not a color thing. It's a survival thing. Well, people from all different racial backgrounds committing crimes is as old as America itself. But the media has not been fair with that. The media has always portrayed people of color as being most of the criminals. Like, for instance, the person that was mentioning white supremacy and hate crimes. There was a time in America where hate crimes were prevalent. It wasn't like the media was going around trying to portray white people as bad when it was happening. But now that you do have a lot of people of color committing crimes, the media does portray them as bad. So, I mean, some of that is supremacy right there, what I'm talking about. There was a time in America where hate crimes were common. And the media was not portraying whites as bad like that. There's no need to vote for him any longer. Well, it depends on what you're running for. There's reason to vote for Trump. Depends on what you stand on, what your political issues are. Jeremy, why are you not wanted? Kamala Harris, in common sense, was against her. Now, I can't speak on that. I think both sides can lack common sense if you look at it right. I mean, like in some cases, in Trump's case, I think that it's clear that he has the support of a lot of Americans. And I believe there's many cases where Trump tells lies when the truth is sufficient. There are many cases where he makes up lies when the truth is bad enough. You don't, like Biden on the border, for instance. I think most Americans believe that Biden was not securing the border. You don't need to make up the whole rapist and murderer story. Just tell people the actual truth. That's enough. Same thing with Springfield, Ohio, where people are not even able to really drive very well, and they're giving them driver's licenses. In Springfield, Ohio, the rate of accidents went up due to some of the immigrants. You don't need to make up stories about cats and dogs. The truth is good enough. So Trump often does lie when the truth will work. So you talk about lacking common sense. I don't know why he does that. But he does lie sometimes when the truth is actually on his side. Because once you tell a lie, even though you may have the truth, you kind of lack credibility. Like Pete Hegseth today to me, once he started lying about the war leaks, his credibility is shot. He lied like that, and they found out he was lying within 24 hours. So we know Pete Hegseth now is capable of lying about very important issues. We'll see how far it goes. How is saying that Trump dodged the draft racist? It's not. It's not racist. Anyway, I appreciate you folks tuning in. I got to step away because, as always, I got to go to work just like the rest of you in the morning. Thank you for the 89,000. Somebody tapped the screen. Wow. Somebody actually tapped the screen. I appreciate that. If he stops Social Security, his voters will be very disappointed with him. Not all of them. A lot of them maybe. But Trump has a way of convincing people that what I did is good. If it ain't good now, it'll turn out to be good. And they'll buy that. So, like the tariffs, for instance, people believe that in the future those tariffs are going to turn out to be beneficial for America. So we'll see how it goes. Tim's nose doesn't grow when he lies, but you can definitely see it in his eyes. Says 6'10" guy. All right, well, let me know what I'm lying about. I'll tackle it. Tim, is it a lie about Trump saying that there were good people on both sides when his very next sentence was, "I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis. They should be condemned unequivocally." You know, you're talking about Charlottesville. I don't think the good people on both sides would fly no matter what president said it. I mean, you got one side that's protesting for the Confederate statues to remain up. Fair enough. You have a First Amendment right to protest. But then that side is beating people, and they did kill a young woman that day. That's not good people. I mean, that would be just like if BLM was somewhere rioting, not just rioting, but setting places on fire, and some politician said they were the good people. You know, they're protesting police brutality, but they set somebody on fire or something like that. That's not, the Charlottesville people were not good people. They showed up with hate symbols. They showed up with flags that were attached to bats and shit. They showed up prepared to fight. And that's exactly what they did. They showed up to a protest expecting and prepared to beat people. And they did that. I don't see how that's good people. I don't see that. But remember, Trump, just like with January 6th, he could take his own supporters and separate the ones who were not doing anything from the ones that were committing crimes, and not talk about the ones that are committing crimes and say this group is peaceful. Like on January 6th, he talks about it being a love fest and a peaceful protest. So I don't, but the good people on both sides was just not the right statement to make after something like that. And it wouldn't have been the right statement to make if the whole event was flipped in favor of the liberals and a liberal president said it. The right wouldn't have liked that. It was not the right statement to make. And in regards to him condemning white supremacist groups or whatever you stated, it took him 3 days to do that. That was another problem. It took him 3 days to come, because they kept asking him, do you condemn this? And he was giving all kinds of, finally, just like when he asked him about the Ukrainian-Russian war. They asked him, do you want the Ukrainians to win the war? Well, I want the war to end. I want people to stop dying. You're dodging the actual question, though. He was dodging the question about condemning white supremacy for several days before he finally did it. So, not the right answer, in my opinion. But MAGA disagrees. Look at the cover. What do you think about the firing the black chief of staff in the Pentagon? Like I said, if Trump gets elected, he's a Republican president coming in after a liberal president. They usually get rid of people that are from the other side. I'm okay with him getting rid of anything related to Biden or related to the Democratic Party. What I have a problem with is yelling DEI. Yet indicating these people did not have merit. Just come out. Like I said, he's lying when the truth will do. Just come out and say, you know, if Biden was reelected, well, better yet, when Biden got reelected in 2020, I'm sure he got rid of some of Trump's people from 2016. That's what presidents do. He could have just told the truth. He didn't have to make up all these lies about DEI and indicate that people who have spent their entire life in the military did not have merit. And then he replaced Pete Hegseth in there, who truly does not have the merit, by the way. I don't think anybody that has had the Department of Defense with less resume credentials than Pete Hegseth. I don't think anybody has as little credentials as he has. So I just don't favor making up lies to get your point across. Just look, my agenda leans right. This guy agenda leans left. He's part of the Biden administration. He's got to go. This is what all presidents have done. Everybody understands that. Why you got to say the guy lacks merit and all that bullshit? That's just, like I said, making up lies when the truth will do. a Fox host for crying out. Yeah, Pete Hegseth came right out of Fox News. And that's why I always say for folks who talk about CNN or MSNBC being fake news, if you're not saying that about Fox News, then you biased as fuck. Because CNN and MSNBC in particular leans left. There's no denying that. But compared to Fox News, it's not even close. MSNBC does not have reporters on stage at Biden and Kamala Harris rallies and all of that shit. On Air Force One when Biden's president. Leaving MSNBC and going to work for Biden or Kamala Harris. The Trump administration is almost like intertwined with Fox News. It's almost like they literally, I mean, you see, we mentioned Pete Hegseth, left Fox, went to work for Trump. We've seen people like Kimberly Guilfoyle, left Fox, almost married into the Trump family. And then you got members of the Trump administration that also leaves the Trump administration and goes and works for Fox News. They literally are trading people back and forth. MSNBC ain't doing nothing like that. MSNBC speaks and refers to left-wing causes. They speak favorable to the left, but they're nowhere near as intertwined with the liberals as Fox is with the conservatives. Fox News, fair and balanced, my ass. Really? Can you look up the numbers of people joining the military since Trump took office? I think you will find it skyrocketed, Tim. Yeah, I've heard that the military recruitment went up. I think that when Trump took office, he was people had different expectations for him than they do now. Economy, border, control the LGBTQ stuff. Those were kind of the issues he ran on. Now, remember, he was going to get us out of overseas conflicts. He was going to end the Ukraine-Russian war in 24 hours. He promised some good shit. I don't believe people would have joined the military as much if they expected us to maybe attack Greenland, Panama, Canada, take Gaza. He made it sound like he was going to get us out of harm's way. Now that he's in office, he makes it sound like he's going to get us into harm's way. So, and which is why J.D. Vance was caught on audio saying that I don't think attacking Yemen is what is going in favor of Trump's agenda. This is going against what he promised. He promised to get us out of overseas conflicts. Why the hell are you attacking Yemen? Yemen ain't struck any targets in the U.S. Why the hell are you messing with them? You're doing that on behalf of Benjamin Netanyahu. Let him deal with that problem. He got plenty of money to purchase any weapons we sell, and we give them every damn thing they want. Why are Americans attacking Yemen? That's not in our region. So you're pointing to people joining the military. I do believe that Trump 2.0 was not Trump 2.0 today is not what people thought he was going to be when he got elected in November. He's doing a lot. I don't think most people in the military expected him to fire most of the federal government like he's doing. Nobody. I don't think he would have won doing that. If he had campaigned and told people how many federal employees he plans on firing, I don't think he would have won. I think any liberal would have beat him because you got so many MAGA that are among those people. I mean, now they're talking about privatizing the post office. That's not going to work good for postal employees at all. You got to assume there's a whole lot of postmen that voted for Trump in rural areas. He's talking about taking away their right to barter, so their union rights are going to go away. Nobody benefits financially as an employee, whether we're talking pay or benefits, if you lose your union rights. Nobody does. If you lose union rights, you're going to lose pay and benefits as a result of that. And they're talking about doing it. They're talking about privatizing the post office. How many corporations mail shit through the post office all the time? There's no denying that the privatized versions of the FedEx and UPS are far more expensive to use than the post office. So if we privatize the post office, that's going to hurt a lot of corporations that mail and send packages and shit like that, because it's going to be suddenly a lot more. You can still send a letter well under $1. You ain't sending shit via FedEx or UPS for less than $1. You ain't sending nothing with them for less than $1. So it's going to hurt a lot of companies that send out notices and sales flyers and all of that stuff. Because once you privatize the post office, just like FedEx and UPS that are not subsidized by the government, they're looking to make a profit. So they're going to charge a whole lot more to ship stuff back and forth. And that's going to affect everybody that ships stuff back and forth. A lot of companies and businesses. As I said, I don't think that if America knew he was going to fire, do as much stuff as he's done to the federal government, I don't think he would have won. I don't understand why you would get rid of so much waste at the employee level, but have money to build F-47 jets and shit like that. I don't understand that. Seems like you would start cutting machinery as opposed to people. We got a lot of extra equipment we could be cutting. You don't hear him saying anything about that. We sold this for scrap. We got rid of additional tanks that we didn't need. Each Bradley tank we had was worth $20 million. We saved that by. You don't hear any of that for a guy that's planning on getting us out of overseas conflicts. We don't need all that equipment if you're going to actually meet that promise. Chances are he's not going to meet that promise. You went after human labor before all of the other stuff you could have cut that we have that's wasteful, that would not have cost anybody their jobs or anything. I'm not saying that there are not employees in the federal government that we don't need that we could probably let go. But I'm just simply saying that we just recently skipped from the F-22 program to the F-35 program that went way over in terms of cost. And now we're at the F-47 program. There's a lot of waste in that doesn't require firing people, making people homeless and shit, or whatever the case may be when you get fired from your job. I just think he started at the wrong end of it. But we'll see. Anyhow, it's your boy Tim, the Handsome Liberal. You know what I got to do. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Appreciate you tuning in. Real quick in the comments, good night, Jeremy. You got class tomorrow. So do I. Catch y'all tomorrow.